Grace and peace, everybody. We are back. Happy Lord's Day to y'all. Happy Sunday. It's been a busy weekend over here at Whitaker Park, but we here in the building. And we got a pretty stacked show for you today. We got a lot to go over, a lot to talk about. Hopefully you all had a great, restful weekend, a blessed Lord's Day, and you're ready to get into it. Let's get talking about it. So first of all, shout out to everybody who's jumped into the best live chat on the internet. I appreciate y'all. I want to just make sure that my audio is popping and sounding good. Thank you so much for moon phase gazing, giving us a shout out. What's going on, Ben? There he is, man. Ben, shout out to the moderators, always making sure this thing is moving in the right direction. Always appreciate y'all. Never want to overlook y'all. Thank you so much. Green Hearts in the chat. Of course, Texas Mom up in the building. I see you. Hi, y'all. I love it. So happy to be here. Happy Sunday, friends. God bless you. Thank you, Jenny. Appreciate you following through. Thank you so much. What's up, Zuma? How are you? Zoomy, thank you so much for the green hearts in the chat. Appreciate you. There she is, Kelly. There she is. Hey, love. Hey, Jay. So glad you are back. I'm glad to be back. Went and hung out with President Firstborn this weekend, and it was a lot of fun. If you have kids that have gone off and they're starting to stretch their little wings and do the little wing thing with, trying to be pseudo kind of quasi adults, it's always it's fun. And so good to see her and her sister get back together again, being themselves. It was fun. So shout out for sure. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to see her this weekend. So, but don't be surprised. I'll be going back next week. Not next week, but soon enough for sure. Thank you so much for following through. I see you over there. How are you? Thank you so much. You're number 13. Hello, everybody. Make sure you drop that like number up in there. Yeah, help a brother out. I'm trying to hit my like. I'm trying to hit my view and like goal for the month, and I'm a little bit behind. So thank y'all so much, always, for coming through, no matter what. There he is, present, not perfect, dropping those green art grenades in the building. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. I see you over there, Shelly. Love, thank you so much. There she is. How are you, friend? Hi, y'all. Hi, all. I'm sorry, you didn't say y'all. You said hi, all. Gotta recognize. Yeah, we're about to talk about Mexico. Thank you so very much. That's actually why I started a little bit early, because good gracious, what is going on in Mexico? Mexico, we got to pray for our neighbors down south for sure. For sure. Thank you so much. I have it queued up. Matter of fact, let me just go and pull it in and be ready. We're going to look at a couple of good content creators that are talking about what's going on in Mexico. The crazy thing is, man, if you're on X, they are showing like full unadulterated deletions on X. Like, wow. So I had to find some people that were like a little sanitized, because some of the stuff they've been showing, man, is like been out of this world. So yes, we will be talking about Mexico. We'll be praying for Mexico for sure. Thank you very much for that. All right. Yeah, we have tons of Americans over there, and man, it is looking pretty gnarly over there. I can never miss it. God bless all here. Happy Sunday to you too. Appreciate you so much. All right, so what I want to do first of course, make sure that my audio was sounding good, and I think it sounds pretty good. I've had no complaints, so we will definitely move forward with that and say, we're sounding good. Aloha to you, my brother. Thank you so much, friend. Appreciate you following through. Okay, you may or may not know, but Mexico is like, I don't know the way to say it, man. Mexico is on fire. There's a lot of craziness going on. So a illegal pharmaceutical cartel leader was taken out, and the cartels just started going bananas and lighting stuff on fire and destroying stuff and blocking airports and roads. And it is just, it is crazy work. And of course, the military they're coming in with they're dealing with this with no prejudice. Let's say it like that. Because the clips I saw on X were like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is some next level stuff I saw today. So number one, we're going to jump over here to Decoy Voice. We've looked at Decoy Voice before. I think he is an excellent content creator over here on this space. And I thought he did a great job of bringing light to this. So I want to give him a little bit of room to share. And then we'll jump over and look at what Paralegal Institute had to say about the same topic. So shout out to Decoy Voice. If the mods could please help us in the chat and drop Decoy Voice's link in the chat, I would love for y'all to go check him out. Great content creator, definitely. Yeah. Oh, well, we'll talk about it in a second, my brother. We'll talk about it in a second. So with no further ado, you know how we like to do it. Green hearts in the chat where you can hear.
Mexico falls into chaos as a cartel takes over large parts of Jalisco, including a potential of American hostages, as tourists first reported fires all across the city.
This one just started here. There's some fires over there on the 200 apparently. Not sure what's going on.
Seen from popular hotels in Puerto Vallarta.
I can see the flames underneath that black smoke. Huge plumes everywhere.
Man, get me up out of here.
Over there.
Lord.
Another one directly behind this resort we're staying at.
As Canadian tourists are stranded on the top of their hotel. Where even their Costco was under attack, as the cartels are setting vehicles on fire. And claims on social media say a prison was set ablaze as inmates have escaped, with the cartels carjacking random travelers to set their vehicles on fire, even attacking gas stations to do the same.
Oh. Yo.
Shutting down roads by leaving buses ablaze. Even stopping semis to also set them on fire.
Crazy work.
And even scooters still inside stores are getting torched as well. Now, the local police have responded, but sadly, several of them are already deceased. Now, their National Guard has arrived and are actually going to war with the cartels right in the streets, as it really looks like there's a civil war going on in Mexico, and sadly, civilians are getting caught in the middle, where even hospitals don't know whether to evacuate or to shelter in place.
That's gotta be so scary. You don't know what to do, man. That's crazy. Yo, this is some next level. These people going up, some people going up, some people going down. Wow, man. This is insane. Wow.
But as some people attempt to escape, the airports are getting shut down as well, as some scramble to get inside. Everywhere looks like pure chaos. Where some travelers are sheltering in place.
Algo está pasando. Todo el mundo está corriendo.
What do you do?
It appears employees were trying to escape.
That's the right answer, though. Man, this is horrible, man.
Esto es lo que estamos viviendo. Es horrible.
And you can't blame anyone for not knowing where to go when the carnage is part of the cartel's plan, and it's absolutely working. Where some hotel guests describe the confusion.
Here on the beach, the tiki bar is being cleared out. All of these things are being cleared out. It's being roped off right now. They're asking that everybody vacate the area and leave immediately. You can see the smoke. I don't know if you can, the smoke in the sky.
We were just walking on the beach and we saw smoke everywhere. And we're being informed that there's major cartel violence happening. A top-ranking cartel member, and when that happens, all-out war happens. A number of cars have been set on fire, motorcycles set on fire. In fact, there were some attendees of Anarchapoca who were in a taxi cab. They had their car shot at. The taxi driver was murdered. and the car was set on fire. All of their luggage has been burnt, including their clothes and passports, in fact. So it's a pretty scary, dire situation right now. We're being told do not go out at all. In fact, the entire airport may be shut down right now because of this cartel violence.
This is
I mean, we heard
insane.
Trump mentioning a while back that he's going to go after the cartel in Mexico. Is this the beginning of that? Are we witnessing it live? I don't know, but
while others seem very casual about the events.
Oh, geez. Let's go. Follow me. Just follow me. It can't explode anymore. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Oh, well.
I just walked past her a few minutes ago.
I don't like any of this. This isn't nice.
Isn't nice?
Run for the hills. But listen, they've already hit this street.
Yeah.
So I think we're okay. It's just, it's a shame. I wish I can get a cup of coffee.
Dang. I need a drink.
I'm sorry.
I don't even drink that much.
I need a cup of coffee. You need a drink. Oh my God, self-centered to the extreme. The world, everything's exploding. Oh.
Okay, I'm sorry, man. That guy has to be American. This guy, I'm sorry. Look, I'm American. I love being American. I'm glad that God allowed me to be born here in America. But that dude right there makes me embarrassed. You know that. Oh my gosh. You know he American. Oh my goodness.
And there's a little lady sweeping up the leaves. Nothing ever changes.
And I don't know if that's smart, or it's the shock, or if you're seeing the locals casually standing around, you should feel somewhat safe to go grab a coffee. Because at this point, basically everything reported is a rumor. As some say the cartels are about to enter homes and hotels if their demands are not met. With the U.S. Embassy also addressing the situation, stating due to ongoing security operations, related roadblocks, and criminal activity, U.S. citizens should shelter in place. But the situation appears to be getting minimal news coverage, with the local outlets reporting only massive attacks, stating the cartel's leader, who had a bounty of $10 million US, has been taken out by their local federal forces, with 6 others being detained as counterattacks occur statewide, where Puerto Vallarta authorities are urging everybody to stay indoors. Public transit is suspended and businesses are asked to close, with all flights into Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara are being diverted. Scary to think U.S. citizens could be captured in this, but sadly that's a known risk when traveling to a country that's largely controlled by the cartels, with rumors that these resorts are too owned by those same gangs, and even residents speculating their president is as well. But hopefully this all gets resolved in the near future. I just wonder what the American implications might be, as our borders have been a hot button issue for the last decade, and this is yet another reminder of why border security should be such a priority. But in the scary event that U.S. citizens become collateral damage in Mexico's unrest, does that mean our military must get involved? And after what happened in Venezuela, what's about to happen in Iran, I really don't want another hot conflict to occur. But what do you think? If U.S. citizens are involved, should our military as well? Or is this something we shouldn't concern ourselves with as long as it stays on that side of the border? I genuinely want to know what everybody thinks and eagerly await what that channel Task and Purpose has to say about this. So if you appreciate my concise, sometimes lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, subscribe to Decoy.
Shout out to Decoy Voice. Excellent content creator. Bless him, man. Thank you for that. All right, what do y'all think? Is this something that we need to get involved with? Is this something that we only get involved with if Americans are involved in it? What do y'all think? Yeah, this is a very troubling situation. All right. Yeah, he definitely is a great content creator. I really do appreciate Decoy Voice for what he does, for sure. We were involved. She says we were involved. Okay. Tell me more about that. Let me hear more about that. Oh, we took him out? Really? Yes. If the mods could go ahead and drop that link. I think he already dropped this right here. Here it is right here, Jenny. There's the link right there. So Ben has shared it. And all right. Mexico having a female leader doesn't help. Okay. Yes, we were involved. I'm sorry. Yes, the U.S. was involved. Okay. We should help as little as possible. Most of what we should be involved in is getting people home. We were involved as far as intel. Okay. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, man. All right. Special forces training we're covered. Okay. All right. Thank you, love. All right. Let's go ahead and jump over here to Paralegal Institute. He talked about it as well. I thought he did a great job of it. So, of course, I love highlighting good content creators and give you all an opportunity to peep some other content creators. Let them know that we appreciate them. And, oh, yeah, Decoy Voice has a second channel. That's right. Thank you so much. And let me, and I'll drop the link for Paralegal Institute that we're about to watch as well. Thank y'all so much, everybody who's jumped in. We got about 170, almost 180 that already hopped in. Thank you so much for hopping in. Thank you so much for hitting that like button. If you are not a subscriber, please go ahead and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. I really do. And let's go ahead and bring this in and let's go. Green hearts in the chat when you can hear. Let's roll. Gosh. I know
we're back. We're back, y'all.
Streets,
Thank you
man.
for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, scenes out of Mexico, out of an area in Mexico called Jalisco. It looks like they have killed a high-ranking cartel member, a boss, y'all. And things have they've gone from 0 to 100 real quick, y'all. Apparently, even the airport is under attack by the cartel as revenge for the boss's killing, y'all. They say that Americans are being attacked. People are having their cars taken and burned. Buildings are burning. It's just chaos there, y'all. So this update is a bit of a travel advisory if you're in Mexico. So hopefully you can get and stay safe. And also all of the content we use here is under fair use. Without further ado, y'all, let's go ahead and get into it.
So everybody is being told to leave the area right now here on the beach. The tiki bar is being cleared out. All of these things are being cleared out. It's being roped off right now. They're asking that everybody vacate the area and leave immediately. You can see the smoke. I don't know if you can, the smoke in the sky. But we were just walking on the beach and we saw smoke everywhere. And we're being informed that there's major cartel violence happening right now all over Puerto Vallarta. Apparently, they've captured a top-ranking cartel member, and when that happens, all-out war happens. A number of cars have been set on fire, motorcycles set on fire. In fact, there were some attendees of Anarchapulco who were in a taxi cab. Taxi drivers are apparently targeted by the cartel. They were they had their car shot at. The taxi driver was murdered, and the car was set on fire. All of their luggage has been burnt, including their clothes and passports, in fact.
Now, y'all, all of the videos that I'm showing you here are sourced from X, and this is the most recent information that I have. So definitely double check and verify. We're going to take a look at a very brief clip, supposedly now out of the local airport, where things have gone from bad to worse and very quick, y'all. Again, if you're in the area, please stay safe. Other footage seems to show people snatching people out of their vehicles and then leaving them stranded as the, I guess, cartel members, y'all, set the vehicles on fire. This is definitely wild stuff. Let's take a look.
He said, no, not today, Satan.
So a creator with pressfortruth.ca, there's a YouTube channel. We will link to this video down in the description. It looks like he's there right now, y'all. It looks like he's in the area, I think Puerto Vallarta in Mexico right now while everything is going on. And he is bringing harrowing tales of exactly what kind of chaos is unfolding. He's also asking the question, is this just the start of something new? Did the Trump administration have something to do with this? Is this something that we may see more of coming up? Because we know Trump has said that the United States wants to go after the cartels.
So it's a pretty scary, dire situation right now. We're being told do not go out at all. Do not walk in the streets. Do not get in a taxi or an Uber. Do not go to the airport. In fact, the entire airport may be shut down right now because of this cartel violence. I mean, we heard Trump mentioning a while back that he's going to go after the cartel in Mexico. Is this the beginning of that? Are we witnessing it live? I don't know, but everybody here has just been instructed to leave the area immediately. The entire beach here is being shut down. It's clearing out. And really, really intense situation going on here in Puerto Vallarta. So I'm going to continue to document this as we do. We're going to stay safe in our hotel. I don't know if you can see the smoke in the air, but it's all over the place. It's thinned out now in the last hour, but apparently, from what I understand, there's a whole bunch of cartel violence happening all over the city right now. We don't fly out until tomorrow, but hopefully it's not going to be an issue for us, because as it is right now, the airports might even be shut down. I hear the military is getting involved. Some of these cartel have in the past shot down military helicopters because they literally own rocket launchers. So this is serious stuff.
So who is El Mencho? Well, in this news program, it is in Spanish, so I'm going to try to bring you the most salient points. She says that El Mencho is the leader of the new generation cartel. They are known as one of the most violent cartels in Mexico. Members of this cartel are sought not only by the Mexican government, but by the United States government as well. And it looks like El Mencho was killed today, setting off all of this craziness that we have been seeing. Now, this is not the first time that this sort of violence follows the capture or killing of a high-level, prominent cartel leader. In previous years, you've even seen helicopters being shot at with rockets, y'all, by cartel members after a leader has been captured or killed. They've gone to battle with the military. They've gone to battle with the police. And of course, for that reason, it's no wonder that Donald Trump has wanted to see a real crackdown on them. And now with all of the United States activity in Venezuela, it looks like, even though this is not confirmed, it looks like perhaps there has been some additional ramping up of the tension, some additional escalation, and maybe, just maybe, the United States has moved in Mexico and killed a leader of one of the most powerful, violent cartels in that country, y'all. So as of now, we don't know enough, but let's just postulate. If the United States were involved in this, do you agree with that or do you disagree? Do you think that the United States should be making moves in foreign countries against their drug cartels, against their purveyors of violence? Or do you think we should just stay out of it, y'all? Let me know what you think, y'all. Drop a comment down below. But before you do, please stop, hit the share button. Share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all your favorite social mediums. And of course, if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. Thank y'all for watching. Love y'all. We'll see you back in the next one. You know that we are Paralegal.
All right. Shout out
If
to
you've been
Paralegal
watching
Institute. I appreciate them for sure. Yo, this is kind of wild, man. This is kind of bonkers. I don't know. We have a vested interest in Mexico getting their arms around and quelling their cartel problem. But do they have the interest in actually solving the problem, I guess, is the
I
question that
didn't
needs to be
realize
asked.
that you were
I guess that's the question. What do y'all think about that? Well, Puerto Vallarta is beautiful and generally safe. It looks like now it's a little less than that at the current moment. Man, this is wild. Yeah, thank you so much. This is Paralegal Institute right there. Thank you so much for that, Ben. Thank you to the mods for that, of course. My husband won't travel outside the U.S. for any reason. Hey, I understand. I totally understand. Not a fan of it, though, because I do believe we should travel and get out and see some other things. But I understand. I have family in Puerto Vallarta. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think I am. You know, I'm trying my best, trying my best. All right. You know what I said I was going to do? Let's pray for this situation. And then we're going to go ahead and get started because I told you tonight we're going to go over Graham Allen's interview with Erica Kirk's best friend. I forgot her first name. Martin is her last name. But let's just pray. God, I thank you today that we have a chance as the body of Christ to pray for our brothers and sisters and the people of Mexico as they're dealing with this very serious tragedy. I pray, God, that you'll give them wisdom there, that the leadership there will make the right decisions. If it's help from the U.S. or elsewhere that's needed, I pray that it will come. And I do also pray, God, for those that, Lord God, are part of this violence, a part of this unrest. That, Lord God, they will see the damage that they're doing, not only to just fellow humans, but Lord God, how they're destroying their own country, Lord, for this. I pray that they will see it and they will understand the errors that they're making. But ultimately, I pray for justice to come down very swiftly on those cartels and those that are causing violence in Mexico, and that it may not spread anywhere else. Wherever it is right now may be contained quickly and surely in Jesus' name. Amen. Y'all, all right. I have heard what you all have said. I've heard the questions. Let me see real quick. Hold on. I've heard the questions. Hold on. Regod, go ahead and drop me that $20 super and I'll make sure I answer your question. Thank you so much. I want to make sure I drop Regod. You are a $20 super at least. I appreciate it though. Thank you so much. All right. Yeah. We're gonna let them. Tracy Martin. Why could I want to say Tiffany, but Tracy is her name. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you. So I watched this and I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was super interesting. So I want to go over that very quickly and give you all my 2 cents on it. I thought Graham, first things first, I think Graham Allen has earned my respect. This guy is a much better content creator than I realized. I thought this interview was great. I thought the interview hit the button, the high points very well. There's a couple places that I really wish he had asked some different questions, but the questions he asked were fantastic. So I'm not at all throwing shade at Graham at all. I thought he did an outstanding job. So shout out to Graham Allen for sure. Ben, y'all can go ahead and deal with him with prejudice. Don't worry about it. You don't even have to screenshot it. Just deal with him with prejudice. And just tell them email management. There you go. Regard, going to email management. We'll get you back on here for sure. I have to say, I'm very impressed with him. I've been impressed with him. I think today's interview that we're about to watch was really, really insightful. So shout out for sure on that. So let's do this. Again, if you haven't watched the interview, we're going to just go through it. There's a couple places I want to make some commentary, but for the most part, we're just going to check out Graham. He sat down and interviewed Tracy Martin, who is the woman that Candace Owens has been dragging through, saying all these terrible things about her because she's a friend of Erica Kirk's. And Tracy Martin, let me just say that also. Tracy Martin is very impressive. I thought she had a very good understanding of the situation that's going on and why this is happening. I thought she didn't seem panicked. She didn't seem like overly stressed about it. She did come across like, hey, I understand what's going on. I'm going to give you my critique on it, and then we're going to keep it moving. So shout out to her for sure. Let's bring this in. Let's go. Y'all probably want to see more Graham than me, right? Let's do it like this. Let's go. Green hearts in the chat when you can hear.
the mom that Candace Owens has been talking about. So let's set the record straight, shall we?
I met
Call us on it. What is truth? Is it feelings? Is it tips you heard from other
Vibes.
people? Is it just saying whatever you have to say to make the money that you want to make? Candace Owens has made an entire career over the past 6 months saying her beliefs or her feelings or her tips that most often turn out to be lies in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. No one has felt the brunt of this more than Charlie's widow, Erica Kirk, and his children. I myself have been attacked along with so many others. So we finally started to decide to, how would Candace put it, ask questions about the very people that are just asking questions. Now, Candace Owens would have you believe that we're trying to silence her. We're trying to racially profile her. We're trying to cover up for something. But we believe in the truth. We believe in debunking the lies with actual facts, not hearsay, not a tip line. No, the actual people that Candace Owens is single-handedly ruining lives. This particular lie revolves around a family, a mother, a daughter, and a dear friend to Erica Kirk around a bad feeling. And Candace Owens turns this lie, this tip, this misconception of the truth into prior knowledge of an assassination attempt on Charlie Kirk's life. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I introduce to you Tracy Martin.
Hello,
Tracy,
Graham.
thanks for being here.
Of course.
Before we start, because a lot of people are going to see this and they're going to ask this is our first time meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I haven't promised you any money. I haven't promised you any promotions in a company. We didn't pick our $7,000 checks up at the door.
I wouldn't take it anyway.
It would take a lot more than that. No,
Yes.
I'm joking. Okay. So you reached out to me
Yes.
via Instagram and I saw it. And at first, admittedly, I didn't know who you were. I didn't realize that you were the mom that Candace Owens has been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you is this. Before we begin, this is going to be picked apart. We will be attacked by Candace and her, I call them the Canaanites. We will be attacked by them for this.
Yes.
Why are you here? Why would you put yourself through this?
Well, first of all, I believe that this is a moment in time to where we have to speak out at this point. It's gone on long enough. I have been a dear friend to Erica's for 15 years, and everyone that knows Erica in this circle has been through Charlie. You met Charlie, that's how you met Erica. It's been this way. And then I realized that having 15 years of lived experience with her, somebody needs to speak out on the character of who Erica is. And Charlie knew exactly who he was marrying. And God knew that Erica would be the woman that she is right now. And so I think when you realize that there is a truth to this, and being a believer, I believe that we do protect the people that are being attacked. And I think that it's time that, when you have truth and you realize that you have the voice to use it because there's nothing to hide, And Candace came after my family as well. You know, and so you don't get to do that, and you don't get to have a platform and use it irresponsibly to destroy people, and you don't see the damage that you're doing because you're sitting in your studio and you're not on the receiving end of DMs, horrific accusations, and she went after my child.
Yeah.
So you just don't get to do that as a mother. I don't think anybody would stand by and watch that.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so I love her opening. I think she did a great job of explaining where it is, where she's coming from. And it was something that stood out to me that while I was listening to this, the 15 years of lived experience. I think that's really interesting because she didn't just say, I've known him for 15 years or I've known her for 15 years. She says like, hey, we've been doing things together, which I think is far different than just saying, hey, I've known of this person for 15 years. But no, I've been doing things with this person, lived experiences, starting nonprofits, visiting their family, going to their homes, this, that, and other. All those things are a part of this 15 years. So it's not just, oh, they've been in my phone or we text for Christmas and holidays and birthdays, but no, we've been living life together. I do think that is that's something to really, you can't overlook that. And I do want the Candace supporters to think about that. This woman has done things with Erica that Candace can never know about, that Candace has no information about, apart from her now hearing about it. You'll hear about that as well. So I just think that's super interesting. So let's go ahead and let her finish up. Let's go.
Absolutely not. And I would argue that Candace doesn't care.
Oh, no, definitely not.
She doesn't care about who it hurts in real life. She doesn't care about real life consequences. Candace Owens will say, I didn't do anything wrong because I was simply presenting the facts or the tips as I got it in real time, which is her defense for cowardice. That is her defense across the board. I don't want to waste any time. People are here to find out the truth.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's where we are.
Yeah.
We're at a position where we have to combat lies with the truth. It's the only way. It is the only way. So Candace Owens went on this tear where she said, essentially, that you called your daughter, who works for Erica, the day before Charlie's, or very soon before, Charlie was murdered at UVU. That is what she said, and she has used that as a conspiracy that you had prior knowledge, potentially, of Charlie's assassination, that Erica definitely had prior knowledge of Charlie's potential assassination. Or she would say, I didn't exactly say that, but she insinuates.
Right.
And she has affected your family's life. Yes. So let's set the record straight, shall we?
Absolutely.
One, does your daughter in fact work for Erica, and how does she work for Erica?
Okay, I'm gonna stop on a cliffhanger right there. I think Graham is doing a great job of laying out. I don't know if he's researched this or what. It seems like he's coming off the top of the dome. Maybe they've got some note cards on the side, but he really is zeroing in on all of the conspiracies, all of the whataboutisms that have been thrown out there. And this is a great one. This is a great one. Now, I do want, especially for the Candace supporters, I'm going to back up just a little smidgen. I want the Candace supporters to listen to the answer that Tracy Martin gives. And just compare that. Is that what Candace told you? Okay. There's a reason why I keep saying that.
And she has affected your family's life. Yes. So let's set the record straight, shall we?
Absolutely.
One, does your daughter in fact work for Erica, and how does she work for Erica?
So I will go back to how we got here.
Okay.
I think it would be, so people can track this. I think it's more important. So I posted a video 3 months after Charlie's assassination in defense of Erica's character. More than anything, I saw what was happening and I just was like, no. So I did the video, and then a few months after that, it was another video just talking about the climate in the world. I mean, with what I do in this world, with working with individuals and families, I see behavior and I see patterns. I recognize patterns really quickly. And so I was watching what was happening with Candace Owens. And so then all of a sudden, I'm with my mom and dad in Missouri, by the way. She did get that right. I was raised in Missouri. And so I was with my parents, and people were texting me going, "Have you seen this? Are you seeing this? I'm like, you guys, I'm with my mom and dad taking care of my older parents." And so I got on my phone and I was like, interesting. So all I see is photos of myself, photos of my husband, and she did use great photos, which I'm thankful for that. But it was basically, who am I? All of the implied framing that she does, not asking neutral questions. It's always implication.
Mm-hmm.
Who is this person? Well, what does her husband do? All the things. So just a rapid fire. Number one, was raised in Missouri, was raised with horses, definitely not raised wealthy. And the funny thing is all my life is out in a book, which has been out 2 years ago. And Erica wrote the foreword, it's just so ironic that this is all being played out.
Okay, that was interesting to me. So she's already written a book, and a lot of the information is about her is in her book. So I'm wondering, this is just something I thought about. I wonder how many of these tips that Candace got were literally just somebody reading off page 79 in the book and just typing it in the tip line. And that's what I'm wondering. Like, did any of this actually not happen, but somebody just copped it out of your memoir or whatever? So anyway, let's keep it going.
And then my husband is not a Border Patrol agent. We
That's
never
wild.
lived in Tucson. She says she has.
I did tell y'all that she was going to put somebody in harm's way. I knew it. Just the way she went about it was crazy.
Paperwork with us purchasing a house from 2011. Never did that. And we didn't live in Arizona in the mid 80s. So there's all these things that are, again, in her mind, this is what she has. And then she will say, well, I didn't say he was a Border Patrol agent. I thought he could be because he's very military-esque. Yes, we work out. I didn't own gyms. I owned one gym. And none of these things even matter in the whole conversation. But what it is when you deal with a conspiracy psychosis, you realize that you feed the narrative and then you're able to reframe that into any way you want to. So when that all came out, I was like, okay, knowing Candace, she'll be after somebody else, after a couple of days, we'll just leave it go. Then she came back, and then she came back again, and she then brought my daughter in and saying that we had this prior knowledge that you're speaking of, which is absolutely crazy. And so to address that was basically my daughter. It had been talked about that my daughter was going to start possibly traveling with Charlie and Erica months earlier. During the summer, they travel as a family. We had conversations.
What did she do? What did your daughter do before that? So they start talking to her about this, but what was her job?
Her job is for Proclaim Streetwear, which is the clothing line.
Erica's
brand,
line.
yes,
Okay.
that I actually helped her create. And just, that, and then Bible 365 Ministry.
So not Turning Point.
She's never worked for Turning Point.
Okay.
And so,
Okay, this is a very interesting point. The daughter, Tracy's daughter, doesn't work for Turning Point, which I think is super problematic to what Candace told her people was that, she worked for Turning Point. Well, apparently that's not true. Now, I kind of wish Tracy, and this is just a few critiques, I kind of wish Tracy had given a little bit more context because, I don't know, is her daughter married? And does her daughter have children? She mentions later that she has grandchildren. So I'm assuming either A, she has other children, or because she says my children. So I'm assuming it's from the other children, or maybe it's from this daughter that we're referring to. I only ask that because it would make more sense if she, if she was a young mom and she's got, a child that's, under 3 or whatever like that, and you're going to be traveling, following this college tour, maybe you shouldn't do that. That would make a whole lot more sense. So I do want to know, is she married? Why did you not want her to go on the trip? But when she didn't want her to go on the trip, I think is really super, super, super important. So let's let her tease it out, Jason. Let's go.
So, and also Candace had said when I did speak with Candace, so I do want to say this. I reached out to Candace through a video.
Yeah, you had a conversation with her.
I reached out to Candace on a video, basically saying, here I am. Okay. If you have these questions and you want to know what's going on and you really want the truth by someone who actually has the truth, I'm right here. I have nothing to hide. And she did send me a DM. And so I did reach back out. We had an hour conversation last week on Sunday.
So hold on. I'm sorry. I have to stop you. So what you're saying is Candace Owens defames you, lies about you and your family, and she reaches out to you, and you had a conversation with Candace Owens on the phone. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
So you and Candace Owens have spoken
Yes.
on the phone.
Yes.
I'm curious. I'm just guessing.
That's another problem. That's another problem because Candace Owens, in a moment, she's going to talk about, well, toward the end, she talks about once she's corrected Candace on multiple problems, Candace Owens made a promise to her that she hasn't kept. So I just want the Candace supporters to think about this. If this woman is lying on what she said, why would she do this? And if Candace is lying about what she said about this woman, because this woman contradicts Candace in a lot of high value areas, why is it that Candace hasn't corrected the error? You have to start asking that question. You cannot let that go by anymore. Because remember what Candace said. Candace has told us very expressly what she thinks about that. Remember that?
But I don't like little lies. When there is one lie, there's 20.
So we are now going to see and hear some very clear lies by Candace. And you're going to have to ask, if you're a Candace supporter, because I have a lot of people here that follow my channel that love Candace and do hit pieces on me, so on and so forth, then you have to start asking, why is Candace not correcting this? Okay, so let's go.
Here, was this in regards to this hit piece documentary that she's trying to put together for Erica Kirk? Was that your understanding of this?
So I think after being on the phone with her for an hour, I think that because there was a moment where she said, we are at an impasse. Which, again, just from what I do, an impasse means that we no longer agree.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we're going to go our separate ways. And an impasse to me, whenever you decide to call me, my intention for the phone call was to set the record straight.
Right.
About the lies, about the defamation, about all the things that you were saying about my family, and especially my daughter, because you put people in harm's way with no regard. And so, but as the conversation kept going, I realized it was just basically to tell me that I didn't know Erica, that Erica was lying at every single point in time, and that she never loved Charlie, the relationship, all the things that we believe are opinions, right?
Right.
And so when that happened, when she said we're at an impasse, I said, yeah, we are. Because you have perceived information and created content. I have a 15-year lived experience with this person, and I know who this person is. And so that's when I realized that I truly believe that, and again, this is in Candace's own words, this is my opinion. I believe that it was just a call to come between Erica and I to try to, and I had no idea that this expose was coming up when I took the call for her. It was just, like I said, to right the wrong. I am a confrontational person when I need to defend and I need to stand up for truth, whether it's myself or someone that I care about.
So I got a question. Which one is, because at very best, Candace has known Erica Kirk for, I'll move out of the way there. At best, Candace has known Erica Kirk for maybe 7 years, maybe. And that's not like lived experience 7 years. That's like, oh, I know about you because you're Charlie Kirk's wife 7 years. But this young lady has actually done things with her, spent time with her, built organizations and LLCs and this, that, and the other with her, traveled with her. So which one trumps which? Which one? Do we go with Candace and the tip line? Or do we take this woman's word and her actual lived experiences with Erica Kirk? Which one? That's what I think is ultimately the question that needs to be asked by Cantifa, by the Candace supporters. This is the question that you need to ask. Which one is more credible? Not just because I want to believe that Erica Kirk is a bad person, because that's a lot of people start with that presupposition that Erica Kirk is bad. So whoever supports that idea, that's who you rock with. But no, like, put that aside. Who is more believable? This woman who spent 15 years with her in various and sundry capacities, or the woman that's never spent any time with her, but just knows her from a tip line and some Google searches and the fact that she was Charlie Kirk's wife? Who do you believe? That's going to be the ultimate question for the Candace supporters. I'm gonna let it go. Let's finish up.
And I don't believe that I believe, like I said, it's very irresponsible.
So in the call, you said something very interesting to me. You said Candace said to you, she didn't believe that Erica ever loved Charlie.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel when you hear something like that from Candace Owens? As someone who's known Erica for 15 years, so you've known Erica from the moment she met Charlie all the way through their marriage, their children.
I remember the first day I met Charlie. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That to me is the that's the first time I'm hearing that Candace Owens truly believes, based off your conversation with her, that Erica never loved Charlie, and it's based off what?
All right. Can you imagine? Shout out to everybody who's in the chat who's married, right? Whether you're married, you're a widow, widower, or whatnot like that. Can you imagine some random person, some random Yahoo on the interweb out here using his or her free will to say, your spouse never really loved you. Lady Dear World Christian never really loved Jay Witt podcast. Like, where do you get that from? That's some crazy work, man. That is some absolute crazy work. And the fact that she would still say that and say that to somebody, and I really do kind of wish that this woman had, 21 years in April. Shout out. Happy early anniversary. We celebrated 24 years last week. Shout out. But that is some crazy work. Like, again, that's why I got the crazy work hoodie on. Like, that's crazy work. It's so absurd to tell somebody, oh, I know that this person didn't love their spouse because based upon feelings and vibes. That is some wild work. Shout out to 3 years. Come on, let's go. Multiply that by 100. Let's go. Yo, that is some crazy work. And then to be telling somebody who has been your best friend, your very good friend for 15 years, like, oh, I know you didn't really love what in the world? Candace was wild work, man. I don't think Candace will ever play that video. I'm sorry, because Candace recorded it. We just know that. As sure as water is wet and the sun will shine tomorrow. We know that Candace recorded that. The problem is she's never going to play it, or she's going to only play it in part. That's going to be wild work. But my question to the Candace supporters again is, who do you believe? Who is believable in this scenario? The 15+ year friend or the person who was never really her friend? Which one is more believable to you? That's the question that you have to answer if you're a Candace supporter. I think most people here, well, I'm going to say for myself, I'm not going to tell anybody else. I believe Tracy. I believe Tracy, like, for sure. 25, let's go. I see 13 up in here. 25, 23. President not perfect, 23 years. What's going 18? That's what I'm talking about. 17, shout out to you. Hey, that's my anniversary. Shout out. Yeah, that's an 18. Come on, there we go. Let's get them high numbers. 6, let's get it. Let's go. Let's go. So at some point, and I really think that, again, people don't like Graham for whatever reason. People had a lot of smoke for Graham. I think Graham is doing the Lord's work. Graham is creating a problem that Candace is not going to be able to solve. And what is that problem? He's pointing out the errors in Candace's logic and the errors in Candace's presentation. And she's got to deal with that. Now, I mean, from his video that he did, was it last Monday, to now this video right here, Candace has got a whole lot of homework sitting on her desk, a whole lot of work sitting on her desk when she come back from her little weekend, right? Her little week off. This is going to be problematic because so many people are catching strays because of this. And they're going to be like, Candace, can you help me out over here? Can you help us out? And she going to go on to the next topic. And if she does this quote unquote expose on Erica, and this is going to be contradictory to that, all we're going to do is just cut and paste her contradiction against what Tracy Martin said. That's all we're going to do. I'm telling you right now, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to play Candace's words, and then I'm going to play Tracy's words. And then I'm going to end it with 15 years shared experience, lived experience. That's all I'm going to do. That's all I'm going to do. I'm telling you ahead of time what to expect from me because I'm bringing all that. I'm going to do it to her. I'm going to do it. 50 years. Let's go. 50? Man, we should drop 50 memberships for that. We should just go ahead and get some memberships for that. Good gracious. Y'all must love one another. I love it. 28? I love it. 42? Come on, let's get at it. So let's get back to this, Jason. Stop running your mouth. Let's go. Shout out to the best live chat on the internet. Let's go.
Well, it's based off a delusion, first of all,
Yeah.
because again, this is the lens that you see things through. But I was at Erica and Charlie's wedding.
Sure.
I mean, and unfortunately, I was at his funeral. I mean,
Oh my
the private
gosh.
funeral. And so I think that when you have someone that's outside that is trying to outright destroy someone, they will take any tactic that they can if they believe that it serves their actual narrative and purpose.
Wow.
And that's what I see happening. And these tactics are such psychological, warfare out in today's world. And that's honestly, too, Graham, one of my biggest reasonings why I wanted to talk about this was it's overarching. It's not just Erica and Charlie. It's Erica and Charlie today.
Yeah.
It was you. It was all kinds of people. And
Yeah, I'm a pedophile, according to Candace
I
Owens.
mean, do you understand the boldness that this takes to lie about someone to that type of a degree? I mean, that's where I know it's definitely the enemy at work. It's definitely spiritual battles. And the thing is when Charlie was assassinated, I still can't wrap my head around it. But when he was assassinated, this world experienced a revival. We had people.
Hold on, I gotta stop this because she really hit. I don't know if Tracy follows your boy or what, but she is saying exactly what I said happened after Charlie Kirk's assassination. So let's let her tease it out. And by the way, shout out to all the brand new members. First of all, N-Dog right now, go ahead and bless 5 people with memberships. But guess what? I had to go ahead and meet you there, N-Dog. Let's go ahead. We had 20 new memberships. Y'all check out. Your name should have been changed or you should have been gifted a membership. Shout out for sure. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. All of y'all. There we go. No way. For real? Come on. I was thinking about you when I did it. Are you kidding me? Oh, yeah. All right. We'll figure it out. Right. He said, look, he ducked on it. All right, let's go. All right. I think this is right on the button. Hey, I like Tracy Martin. Look, she seems to have her head on her shoulders because she recognized exactly what was going on and exactly what Candace has been doing. Let's go. Let's finish up.
The thing is when Charlie was assassinated, I still can't wrap my head around it. But when he was assassinated, this world experienced a revival. We had people I had clients, young clients asking me for Bibles, asking me, hey, T, can you teach me this scripture? And I am by no means a theologian, but I am on fire for Christ because I know that the world needs him. And that's the other thing too, is this was hijacked. And then now you've got this collateral damage of Erica and people that care about Erica. And the reason why and again, I think I did insert myself in this because I did step out and defend Erica and her character.
But we should.
Yes,
We are supposed to, as Christians, specifically the widows and the orphans. The Bible is very clear on this, as you should. And so I respect you for that because very few people right now are doing anything to combat Candace Owens because they are afraid.
Right.
Not of her influence over people, because that's what it is. It is cult-like influence.
Let me correct you, though, Graham. It is a perceived influence.
That's true.
Tracy Martin, look, I like her. She has got her thumb on the pulse, and she said she wants all the smoke. She said, look, you have a perceived influence. She is calling Candace out saying, you really don't have influence. You really are not as important as you think you are. Yo, that is some savage work. And I think more people need to say it. You know what? I'm gonna let Tracy say it again. I agree with her 100%. And I think that needs to be said more and more and more and more. Candace, you don't mean nothing. You're nobody. You are a chick with a microphone and a camera, just like everybody else. I'm a dude with a microphone and a camera. Really, you have a perceived influence, and ma'am, your influence must, at one point, it will bow. That's it. Let's get it. Let's dance. Here, let's go.
Not of her influence over people, Because that's what it is. It is
Well,
cult-like
let me
influence.
correct you though, Graham. It is a perceived influence
That's true.
and a perceived place of authority on a platform.
Right.
That's truly what that is. She's a podcaster at the end of the day.
Exactly right. Her sources inside the government are bottom GS8, GS9 level employees that don't know anything at that. But to the point that they're afraid of her vindictiveness of how there is no depth too low that Candace Owens will go.
Okay, let me stop for a second. And I only want to stop because I really want this to marinate, because I think shout out to Graham Allen, he crushed it. Y'all, we might have to have a family meeting about how to deal with the Candace supporting crowd and the such of that nature. There might need to be some other conversations about how to deal with these people. No, Candace doesn't get to tell you what not to say. Candace doesn't get to tell me what not to say. If you want to say Candace Owens go kick rocks, say it as loud as you want to say it. You have the right to say it. And if the Candace supporters got a problem with it, you need to go ahead and mute them, silence them, and say it even louder. Candace Owens go kick rocks. She doesn't get to run the ship. She doesn't. What was that movie with Tom Hanks? I am the captain now. No, she's not the captain. She is swabbing the poop deck just like everybody else. She's no more important than anybody else. Her voice matters no more. And we might need to come back around that and say, no, we're not going to allow you to just do that. Just not. So she doesn't matter. She's a non-factor. The only reason that I engage with Candace Owens is because it is extremely comical to me. It is extremely comical. Watching this woman in 4K make up foolishness is completely comical. I'm sorry, it's a hoot over here at Whitaker Park. And guess what? It needs to be a hoot for you too. We don't take you serious, Candace. Not even a bit. Oh, it's Captain Phillips. That's the name of the movie. Yeah, she is a nothing. She's nobody. Just like, look, I'm nobody. If you turn off these lights, I ain't nobody either. I'm Chief Executive Second Born's dad. And Dear Woke Christians, Lady Dear Woke Christians husband. That's all I got. That's it. But so I do think we might have to push back a little bit more. So, shout out to Graham. I think Graham is doing an excellent job. Shout out to the Candace members and supporters that are in the chat. Shout out to you. Come on up here to the front of the church so you can get this teaching. Let's go.
We could talk for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I love it.
But let's shift back to the point. So your daughter never worked for Turning Point USA.
No.
She worked for Erica, for Proclaim, and Bible 365.
Right.
Okay. At some point, and I want you to be very clear with us, at some point, Erica and Charlie start talking to her about perhaps coming along these college campus tours that Charlie does. And then you had an opinion on that.
Right.
What was that opinion? And then when did that conversation actually happen?
So again, she does Bible 365 and Proclaim. She does work down sometimes at the headquarters, so she's in the building. She doesn't do anything for the Charlie Kirk show, which is what Candace said, that she had proof of that. And none of that's true.
Her being in the building is proof that she works on the Charlie Kirk
So
show.
no, she does not work. And do they ask her to do something? I don't know. I'm not there every day, but I do know what she did. So the conversation came, we're in a very intimate place because we've been in their home, we're with their kids. I mean, and all the information about, Erica not giving, just crazy stuff, not being pregnant. It's so crazy. So we have the intimate knowledge, right? And so we're there, we see it. And so there was conversation about my daughter starting to travel with those guys. Never said anything about a campus tour or this was absolutely what this was. It was a conversation of traveling. This happened during the summer, which is when Charlie and Erica travel as a family. So I didn't have any conversation back and forth with Erica. And so the day that the assassination happened, I was in my coaching studio with my clients back to back. And as you can imagine, people knowing my relationship with Erica, my phone going off, conversations, phone calls, text messages, just boom, boom, boom. I had clients that some knew Charlie, some were distraught. I mean, it was just a very emotional day, to be completely honest with you. I had an appointment that I canceled with my hair person. And then I had a friend of mine that was going to come in and take a book. I don't know if this is this person or not, because again, Candace has not produced anything for me at all, even though I asked her for it. And so the text message or the conversation was that I had prior knowledge. And so spinning that, which was basically my emotions of, oh my gosh, what if my daughter would have been there? I didn't know where Erica, go ahead.
So no, I don't want to stop you. So Okay. Yeah. And just because I know how her audience works. So just.
So real quick, the whole conversation about her going on tour with Charlie happened this summer, not in August or September, rather. It wasn't just like a surprise pop up. No, this is back in the summer. So her saying that you shouldn't go happened way back in the summer. This conversation allegedly saying that Tracy had prior knowledge was from somebody texting Candace, and Tracy doesn't even know who that was. That's crazy work. So again, I'm going to say this again to the Candace supporters. You're going to have to start asking her, where is she getting her facts from? Because we are going to believe, are we going to believe Tracy, who has a 15-year lived experience with Erica, or are we going to believe Candace? That's got to be the question that you ask. Who is more believable? That's the question. Now, we have the fact teller right here, and she's going to say at the end, you can keep asking me questions. So then we got to ask, well, Candace, you're going to have to start showing receipts, because this woman is saying stuff that contradicts what you're saying. And there's going to be a comment at the end, toward the end rather, where Candace made a promise to this woman and she has not fulfilled it. All right, let's go.
To back this up before we go back to that, in the summer, there were conversations of your daughter potentially like adding to her role and or doing more traveling. And you didn't even know if it was the campus events in general. And you expressed some reservations potentially to your daughter in the summer.
Exactly.
So not days, not weeks before, months before
reviewing like her job, what she was doing, you know, are you happy? You know, can you be an asset? Are you valuable? Those types of things. It's just how I am as a mom.
Okay.
And then that was the conversation. And so it was a what if moment of, and like I said, doing what I do, my what if was not just safety for Erica and all of them. I mean, you know, the volatile world that we live in.
Oh yeah.
It's not.
I've been to those campus tours with Charlie.
And I've heard firsthand the threats. I mean, we've talked about those, the threats, the kidnapping threats, all the things that they were living with on a daily basis. And so, my mind as a mom went, I don't want you to go. I don't want that to be part of your role, is basically.
And I just got to stop right here, because I want to take what the Mad Hatter said here, as well as what Tracy is saying. Like, Candace overlooks and just pretends as if there's very little pushback for TPUSA coming to college campuses. Like, everybody's just excited to see them come. Trantifa wants them to come. The left wants them to come. Islamists want them to come. Furries are good with it. The Democrat, everybody's just so happy to see them. Well, that's not the case at all. And Candace has always downplayed the actual violence, the actual threats, the actual conflict and pushback that happens when they come. So to have Tracy, who is a first-hand, as Mad Hatter says here, this is a first-hand source. We're not getting it from sort of kind of a tip line. We're not getting it from some random person. We're getting it from a first-hand source who will probably raise her hand and put her hand on the Bible and say, I solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Candace, where's your proof? Where is your proof that contradicts this? And again, I'm going to say this one more time. No, I'm not going to say one more time. I'm going to say a lot of times. Candace supporters, you're going to have to start asking yourself the question, do I believe Candace, or do I believe this woman here? That is the question that you have to ask. Who is more believable? That's the question.
What it was. So that day of the emotion, my mind went to, what if my daughter would have been there?
The day when Charlie was murdered. So we've jumped months ahead of time.
Correct.
You're at work, you find out about Charlie being murdered, and then someone is there that you just are outwardly saying, can you imagine if your daughter had been there?
Just as a mother, thinking not only the safety, but what would that have done to her to witness that? You know, the impact of that, the imprints that happens on someone's psyche. It was all of the things that my mind just went to that moment of what if. And so, and then even like with Erica, I didn't know where Erica was at the time.
Right.
And then I know Erica was with her mother.
Yeah.
And I was not, that was another thing that Candace said on our call. I was not with Erica that day.
Yeah.
I was not with her. And so, you know, it's as a mother, you right away go to worst case scenarios. No different than if you have a bad feeling about something and your daughter starts to beginning, well, I don't know if this is a good job for you. I don't know if this is, what does this job entail? What are these types of things? And so it became that type of a mental track that I'm like, oh my gosh, what if she would have been there? What she would have seen? What would have happened? And then my mind went through, she's.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop for a second. Tracy doesn't explain what she actually told her as it relates to not going and why. That's my only pushback. I'm like, if she does say, hey, are you going to add value? Are you, is this going to actually help move you forward in your career? But I want a little bit more like, hey, I don't want you to go because you got a young kid, or I don't want you to go because you just got married 3 weeks ago, or something of that nature. I wouldn't have mind her explaining it a little bit more, teasing it out a little bit more. But that's just one of the things. I want to be fair. That's something I needed more information. Like, what was the reasoning behind you saying you didn't want her to go? And I think it would have been clearer if she had just said it very clear. I think it'd have been better if she said it a little more clear. Hopefully that made sense. All right, let's go.
Safe, she's good. And so this person is basically a friend that I was like, venting to. And so I think that when something is taken out of context, plugged into a narrative and then ran out, I can see where people get twisted on this. And it's very manipulative, but there's no context.
Yeah. I'll take that, Juju. I'll take that. I don't know. Maybe I would have minded her saying, hey, I know they've been getting death threats, but okay, then that's fair. If that's what it was specifically, then she could, and then I'm fine with that. Then I take back what I said.
And whoever this person is, if this text exists, you could have easily said, can you clarify this? Yeah. This was a crazy emotional day for everyone. And especially since my family's very involved.
No, I agree. So just to be clear, to set the record straight on this one, we got a couple things we got to set straight. Your daughter works for Erica's Proclaim clothing line and Bible 365.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be an error on Candace's part. Candace said that she works for Turning Point. The mom, who knows the daughter, of course, said that she doesn't work for Turning Point. So that is a error, or as Candace liked to say, that is a lie. So remember what she said.
But I don't like little lies. When there is one lie, there's 20.
Okay, so that is the first, well, not the first, that's one example of a lie. Will Candace come out and say, I was wrong about saying that Sally Jane worked for Turning Point? She didn't actually work for Turning Point. That's the question that Candace supporters are going to have to ask. We know over here that she's not going to. We expect her to completely ignore that. And there's going to be many other things we expect her to miss as well. But you're going to have to start asking, why is she lying to you? Why is she boldly lying to you? Why is she egregiously, wholeheartedly lying to you when this woman has now told you that her daughter doesn't work for Turning Point? Why is Candace not correcting that? That's the question you're going to ask.
She's never worked for Turning Point USA. No. And this conversation that you had with your daughter on you don't know how you feel about her traveling with Charlie and Erica more happened months in advance.
Yes.
Not the day before or days before Charlie was murdered.
No.
That's a mighty big difference than the narrative that Candace Owens has been pushing. And
I actually said to Candace on the call, I said, mother to mother, your volatile workplace. This is not my world.
Yeah.
I'm not in this world, and that's why, again, the conversation, the concern is being twisted and manipulated.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. And what I specifically want to point out is this: Candace Owens, at some point, and for the audience here, Candace Owens got a tip from someone about something, and she took that, and instead of doing any actual conversations of talking to you beforehand, she just went with it.
Right.
Because the power of the breadcrumbs, the power of the what if right now, the psychosis of the conspiracy is taking over. Let's talk about another one.
Okay, I'm going to stop for a second. And I appreciate the way Graham is, slowly walking through each one of these things right here. Tracy Martin is not required to answer any more questions until Candace answers these questions. Tracy Martin, and so when the Candace supporters come over here and they say, well, what about blah, blah, blah? Well, what about this right here? Candace, we have some very bona fide problems that Candace has presented out there. And come on now.
But I don't like little lies. When there is one lie, there's 20.
So because of that, Candace has to answer these questions before we start answering any other questions. It's not a whataboutism. Well, what about that? Nope. This right here. She was told that the girl didn't work for Turning Point. She has now presented it as if she did work for Turning Point. That is an error. Is she going to correct that? Yes or no? I really don't think it matters. And we'll talk about that in a moment as well. It really doesn't matter because a lot of this is just foolishness anyway. But it's nonsense. But she's made it a big deal. So therefore, she has to answer it. That's it. No other way around it.
Candace Owens has been on a tangent that Erica's alibi is falling apart. I want to be very clear. There is no alibi. Erica Kirk is not a suspect in any shape, form, or fashion in any way. This is simple truth versus not truth, events versus things that never happened. I want to be very clear about this. Candace Owens is saying that Erica was not with her mother, who, as I understand it, is very sick.
Very.
Very sick. And admittedly, you're right. My relationship was always more with Charlie. Respectfully so. Why would I talk to the wife of my friend? I always talk to Charlie.
Right.
So I wasn't as aware how unwell Erica's mother is.
Yes.
Candace Owens has been saying that Erica was not with her mother on the day that Charlie was assassinated. Is that true? Is that not true?
Complete lie on Candace's part. It is there's verifiable information that she was with her mother at treatment.
Okay, now when you say there's verifiable information, what do you mean by that? Well, what do you mean when you say there's verifiable information?
Hold on. Before the Candace people jump in here, you're not owed any verification. You're not owed any kind of proof, any kind of show me the metadata, show me the sign-in sheet. I want to see the security cam. You're not owed any of that. Go kick rocks. Ask Candace, where's the proof about those Egyptian planes? Ask Candace about the proof of the French assassination plot. Ask her that. Okay? Before you get in here, you're not owed anything. Not a bit. You're not owed anything. I know. Y'all think y'all are owed something, but now this is a new day. We're going to tell you to kick rocks, Candace supporters. Go kick rocks. Kick all the rocks between here and Pluto. We don't care anymore. Kick them. So no. Now, let me go bring this back in. Let's go.
Verifiable information from sources, from the clinic, from places like that can verify that she absolutely was with her mother. There's photos, there's timestamps. I have a text message. It's undeniable. And I think the thing with Candace is that to say those things, she said on my call that it's verified that Erica was there on the 8th. I'm like, no, she was actually there the morning, the day of. And that was a conversation with her and Charlie that home needs you. Your mom needs you.
Right.
You need to take care of your mother. And
which makes so much sense. This is just dumb. Shout out to Irene, the Brit in USA. Shout out to her. Fantastic content creator. If the mods could please make sure that we put Irene's link in the chat, I would greatly appreciate it. She does some fantastic work over there. She does a great live stream. I was checking her out earlier this week, or last week rather. So shout out to her. Shout out to Irene. Y'all make sure you put Irene in the chat. Let's go. Hit the button, Jason.
So, and that's what Erica has done, because to your point, I don't think people realize the depth of Lori's illness. And that was something that Candace kind of pushed back on when we called. She said, well, I know she was diagnosed with this, and I know they had treatment. Even Candace's place of where Lori had treatment was incorrect.
Right.
So there's all these things that
the fact that you are digging in this sick woman's history, there should be something. I mean, there's something wrong about that, man. It's just something not right. I need that key sweat. Something just ain't right. You're digging in this woman's history, and you're probably not getting it from a source that's reliable. but you're big chestedly saying that you're right. That's crazy work. That's some crazy work, man. That's some crazy work. Oh, goodness gracious. Let's go.
Yes, she was with her mother. I was not with Erica that day.
Mm.
She was with her mother. It's verifiable from the clinic, from backing up text messages from other people. We know that's where she was.
So
Very confident in that.
So you know that there is confirmation from the clinic that Erica was with her mother on the day that Charlie was assassinated.
Absolutely.
This is absolutely, like, that right there tears apart everything that Candace Owens is trying to lie. And I think as we continue, I'm kind of taken back by it a little bit. And I would say this, like, I'm sure that people are going to watch and you're going to say, well, where's the evidence? Show us the evidence. Well, I would say this, call us on it, Candace. We dare you. Call us on it.
I disagree.
Let's see what you do. Moving back to the conversation.
Yes.
And I want to drive this home as we continue to debunk these lies. If Candace will bold-faced lie about these things, then, and this goes out to the people that watch her, how can they trust her to be truthful about anything?
Well, and I think if you look at the timeline of all this stuff from when, like I said earlier, when there was a revival and she kind of hijacked that movement with trying in her mind of, I'm just seeking truth and asking questions. I gave her truth that she did not want. Even there's a video out there about her. She said that Erica and Charlie had an argument the night before. And I said, that's not true. And she said, yes, it is, because they woke up their daughter. And I said, well, have you been to their home?
How would was she in the bedroom?
Well, that's my point.
How would she know?
And I told her that. I said, have you been to their home? Do you understand this? Do you understand how small the home is? And I said, because I have. I've been there multiple times. And she said, well, I just know that that's not true. And I'm like, well, it is true that Erica wanted Charlie to get a good night's sleep. And if he walks past his daughter's room, he absolutely would be in the kitchen and could easily wake her up. But the thing that's so crazy about this, Graham, is that these are lifestyles that don't matter. I mean, but it's another explosive thing that she thinks she has to incite emotional chaos with people that their brain automatically goes to trying to fill in the blanks. This is human behavior 101. And so, they didn't have an argument. And Erica, I mean, I could have woken up their daughter if I was in the kitchen. I mean, these are the things I think that people don't, they just go, oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. And human behavior, like I said, our brain will fill in those blanks when you are in this conspiratorial psychosis. Yeah. You absolutely will.
Candace is framing it the way that I've seen her frame exactly what you're talking about. She frames it as though Charlie woke up their daughter, and somewhere in between, Erica.
Let me jump in for a hot second. I don't like the word framing. To me, the word framing means I actually have evidence that I concoct that make a frame. I got wood to make the frame, right? Candace made that story up. We watched it in 4K. She literally concocted the whole story. This is what I think happened, because Erica said the little girl woke up at 2:30 or 2:45, whatever, and she made the story out of whole cloth. So I don't even like the word framing, because framing, I think, is giving too much credit to what Candace did. Candace was just this was fan fiction. This is Star Trek Academy. This was Starfleet Academy. This was not a real story. She just made it up out of whole cloth. So I don't even want to say framing. Framing, in my opinion, you've given some facts and you have real evidence to move and say, okay, this is what I believe happened. What I believe happened is this, based upon the evidence and facts. She just took it and created an entire narrative from arguing, yelling. Charlie took down the picture. The little girl slept and Erica told her to go sleep in the girl's room. Just crazy out of nowhere. Drawing a picture depicting your own narrative. Right. I don't think that what we saw, and maybe I need to insert what Candace said. I don't think who framed Erica Rabbit? You are wild. I don't even think that it's even fair to say it's framing. I'm sorry. I don't. I think it's just really, truly just whole fiction. You just made that up. This is whole made up. Let's go.
Was like, well, just go sleep in the daughter's room.
Mm-hmm.
What seems to have really happened is the daughter came into the bedroom, their bed, which is something that happens to 99.8% of parents. And everybody who has kids knows that if you've got something important to do that day, you're not sleeping because kids are like bowling pins
all over
in the bed. So that's when Erica said, you go sleep in her room.
Correct.
And because I believe he had an early flight that next day.
Yep.
That is a completely different, that key little bit of context. Again, Candace Owens is leaving that out, leaving it out.
But I think leaving it.
So real quick, listen to what Tracy says, because I think Tracy really has her finger on the pulse of this. I think way better than most people would imagine. So just listen to what Tracy says here.
Out is what seeds the doubt and the implication for other people to fill in the blanks. So that is her job. You know, even on the video, she says these kids are sleep trained. A toddler should be in REM sleep.
Because she has a night nanny. That's why I'm saying that.
I'm sorry. I've raised kids and I'm a grandmother of 2 grandsons. So I can tell you right now.
Yes.
Good luck with a toddler.
I haven't slept in 15 years.
You're not going to, trust me.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better.
I haven't slept in 15 years.
Yeah.
And so when I heard her say that, it immediately went rich, elitist, night nanny mindset. You know, I wouldn't doubt that after outside of breastfeeding, and this is my opinion, Candace Owens probably has a night nanny. She probably didn't
we don't know, but who knows?
I don't know, but if she can conclude that because the daughter woke up, they had a fight, well, I can conclude if you don't know that 3-year-olds wake up at 2:30 in the morning, you obviously are not getting up with your children. But
it's life.
Yeah, let's digress back into some more of these things here. And I want to ask you, because to your point, you have 15 years of knowing Erica. There's another thing that Candace.
So who do you believe? I'm gonna ask this again to all my Candace supporters. Who do you believe? The woman who had no relationship with Erica apart from her marriage to Charlie Kirk and a Google search and the tip line, or the woman that actually lived life with her, did things with her and her family for the last 15 years? You have to decide that. You have to decide that, Candace supporters. Do you rock with Candace and her approach, or do you rock with Tracy and her approach? You're gonna have to deal with that one. That's gonna be yours. That's it. And all of the different tip lines and sources and emails and nefarious outlets that have given Candace information, or Tracy. That's all.
Has been pushing where she has been pushing that the day Charlie was murdered, Erica not only didn't have her family go with her, but she also waited for over an hour on Andrew Colvette before she went to the hospital. Now, one, I would say this, even if that did happen, which it didn't, but even if it did, I don't know why it's this big conspiracy on, maybe she didn't want to face it alone. Like, I don't know what could have happened. But we know for a fact that Andrew Colvette met her at the hospital. Okay. But
you know what? Let me say this real quick. Tracy, look, she is way more of a credible witness. You know what? Tracy would actually be a witness that could be called to the stand. Tracy could be a witness called to the stand. Candace Owens would never be called to the witness stand because she has no valuable information. That is a great point. Shout out to Amanda. Thank you for that. Tracy could actually be a witness in the trial. If it ever came down to it and they wanted to ask some questions, Tracy would be a witness. Candace would never be a witness. That's something to think about. Thank you for that. Thank you. That's a great point.
About the family part.
Right.
What is the situation with Erica's family? And maybe you can tell it, and maybe that will give better context to why she went with Turning Point people down to Utah versus her family. Obviously, her mother, who is in Arizona, is very sick.
She can't
So
travel.
that one
No.
makes sense, right?
No, she can't
Does
travel.
Does Erica have any other family, and where are they located?
So her sister's in Ohio.
Okay.
And I think Candace knows all this. She's very close with her cousin, who I've not met. I don't know who that is. I don't know Erica's cousin. Her dad and his wife are way on the west side of Phoenix, and also are not in the best physical ability to travel. And I think the thing with because Candace brought this up on the call with me, she said, well, why didn't this, why didn't that? You know, she brought Turning Point people with her. And again, my mind goes to, this was Charlie that was assassinated. So the Turning Point people, they say themselves, we're like a family.
Right.
You know, so obviously they want to go, right? And I don't have information about that part of it that you guys do about Andrew and all that, but I do know that Erica literally stepped out of the clinic and dropped to her knees and was like literally like, what is going on?
Right.
And went straight to the airport.
Right.
And straight to, and then Father Klein, which is a very dear friend of their families, he met her there just to pray for her. And then God bless this man, he went with her.
Yeah, get on the plane.
Exactly. There was no questions. There was a need, there was a crisis. And I think that the biggest thing is when you're in a crisis, you go with whoever's there.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have time to do these kinds of things. And also getting the information of, was Charlie still alive? Right. I need to get there as quickly as I can. You know, and so that part of it with the family, I just don't think there was anyone right there that could have gone.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, the reason I bring up the Andrew Colvette waiting for an hour on the tarmac, the reason I bring that up is because Candace frames it as, well, that's really weird, right?
Weird, yeah.
That's weird that she wouldn't go directly to the hospital. She would wait over an hour for Andrew Colvette, which did not happen. But then she also finds it weird that Erica's family that lives across the country wasn't
ready
on
to
the
go.
plane with there.
Right.
What was she supposed to do? Was she supposed to wait for a day
them,
for them to fly in to Arizona and then they all
Right.
fly together to Utah? The contradiction there
Correct.
is it's staggering. And I think Candace is getting to a point where she has lied so much.
Correct.
She has misinterpreted intentionally so many things that she can't keep straight with her own hypocrisy.
Well, and she takes the human aspect out of all the stories as well, because I mean, if you're in a crisis in that moment, the people that show up for you that are right there within reach, you're going to go in that moment for support. And I think that that's something that is not criminal. You know, I mean, Candace kept saying it's weird, it's weird, it's weird. And I'm like, weird doesn't equal criminal, number one. And weird just means.
Can we just take a second and let that process? We're going to have to let that one cook for a second because Tracy's cooking. Weird doesn't mean criminal. Just because you don't understand it, that does not mean that it's criminal. Hold on, I can give her an air horn for that. I mean, you got to give respect for that. Wherever my air horn is, I don't even know where it is. All right, we got to give her respect for that. Just because it's weird and I don't understand it, that does not mean that it's a criminal offense. Shout out for sure. Tracy cooking. I got to give her the air horn. All right, let's go. And one more candy, girl, just for good times. All right, let's go.
It's different. And so maybe you would have a different way of handling a crisis. We don't know. We weren't there.
Yeah.
I don't believe in judging someone else, how they handle something, because I don't know what you would do in that moment. I can't imagine hearing that conversation. And so I think there's also a level of complete disregard for the human part of this conversation.
Yeah.
And these are real people with real lives.
Correct.
And there's real repercussions for people.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, my heart is in this whole conversation, is the fact that you don't get to do damage to people and can continue this. There's a reprobate mind in here from a biblical standpoint.
Wow.
Yep.
There is the whole depraved mind, which from my experience in prayer is the fact that God will give you over to that until it's time to not do that anymore.
Right.
And I truly believe that that's why these conversations are people becoming more outspoken about this is wrong, this is crazy. It reminds me of, and I said this before, of the whole COVID mindset, to where those of us that spoke out from day one were crazy. You don't know anything, you're this. And then all the people started to take the narrative and build the narrative, which is a pattern. Like I said, there's pattern recognition in here in these kinds of human behavior. And so then there comes a point in time to where at a tipping point to where people are realizing, yeah, this is getting a little crazy.
Yeah.
We're trying to connect dots that go nowhere.
Yeah.
We're trying to do these things. And then people are mentally exhausted, emotionally exhausted. You've done so much damage to people until people have said, we've had enough.
Right.
And then you get the more people like yourself. And you've been speaking out for a while. And that's why I reached out to you, was the fact that this has to stop.
Reach out to me, Tracy.
And there comes a point in time to where you need to step in.
Yeah. Well, I think the argument can be made. Candace has made a career out of saying, well, that's just weird.
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense. You know, normal people wouldn't behave this way.
Yeah.
Well, I would argue that 6 months worth of daily content, doing what she's doing, is not a normal Charlie's bestest friend in the entire world would ever behave in such a way. And, you know, I wasn't Charlie's closest friend, but I owe everything I have to Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that what Candace is doing, if it had been anybody else that had been murdered, and Candace was doing this to their wife or their widow and their children,
Mm-hmm.
Charlie would be the first one to be on the front lines.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he was the only other person with a megaphone big enough to take her on.
Right. Well, there's a point in time to where you honor and you have integrity, and it has to overcome the world's conversation.
Yeah.
Our culture is so inverted right now. Moral inversion is rampant. And that's what I believe this is. It's like, you know, when you say something about someone, you need to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
You know, the accusations, the lies, all the things, you know, and then Candace also mentioned, you know, there's no way that Erica could have done all these businesses that she's done in these LLCs and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, do you know the mind of an entrepreneur?
I have multiple LLCs.
I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I have many, you know,
Yes.
and then she did ask me how I met Erica.
It's amazing to me the things that she says.
Yes.
That she tries to come across as very knowledgeable about. But even a statement like that with like,
and I'm gonna back this up just a little smidgen. I'm gonna let Graham tease us out. And I've said this before, Candace has a great ability to sound very, very confident, to the point that she will make you second guess yourself. Like, wait, maybe I didn't see it like that. Or wait, maybe it wasn't this. Because she says it so confidently, because you almost can't believe somebody would be lying like this. But in actuality, she's lying. So shout out for sure. Let's let them tease it out.
Met Erica.
it's amazing to me the things that she says.
Yes.
That she tries to come across as very knowledgeable about. But even a statement like that with like the multiple LLCs and all this stuff, you can pay LegalZoom to file, do your state filings and stuff for you, and you never have to touch a button.
A thing. Yes.
And she tries to act like she's this expert on things, but then she says things like that, and it makes you wonder, do you have any idea what you're talking about?
Well, that's why I said that a perceived place of authority. That's why I said that, because people do listen to her. And you just said multiple LLCs. I have multiple LLCs. I've had multiple businesses and brands. And so when you realize that is Erica, she questioned her degrees and what she does. And I'm like, Erica is a brilliant young woman. And in any other situation years ago, without a Candace in this, people would be very much in admiration of the way that Erica has handled herself, of the way that she stepped in. It's a biblical, virtuous woman that steps in to continue her husband's legacy.
Absolutely.
And so when you look at this from that standpoint, and you realize she built brands. She lived in New York. She continued with brands. She met Charlie. Her life changed, which is what we talk about: become a wife, become a mother. I mean, I literally am the same exact way. I had my business. I took off 18 years to raise my children, and then I'm back in the game again. But everything has been a continuation of my character to have that depth to it. And Erica's the same exact way. And so all these multiple brands that she's talking about and questioning everything, if you understand the entrepreneurial mindset and the integration that Erica had, even like if you look at Proclaim, for instance, you know, she had the idea, she wanted to do it. It was an amazing thing. It was buy one, give one, all the things. She was busy and she kept talking about it. And I go, give me the graphics. So she gave me the graphics. I built the samples and gave them to her for her birthday. I said, now go. And then all of the content and all of the context. I've been in fashion for years.
Yeah.
And so it's like you mentor someone.
That people are now using those fashion photos against her,
Yes,
as if she
yes.
was some gold digger.
Oh, it's
trying
crazy.
to yeah,
And
it's
I
ridiculous.
styled most of the photos. I was there, and so that's why I
Oh,
wanted.
so you were there for these
I was
infamous
there.
photos?
Yes, I was. I was actually there whenever Charlie proposed to Erica, because and again, a very privileged, intimate place to be to witness these types of things. And so there's so much there that people don't understand, and I don't fault them. And I actually forgive Candace for all of this, to be honest with you, because I think she's being used.
You're better. You're better than me at this current moment. I'm not.
I
I'm
do.
not
I
there
think
yet.
she's being used, and so and I think that when someone is being used for evil, again, it's not my place to judge someone. It's my place to amplify the good.
Yeah.
It's my place to speak truth about someone that I know and that I know is doing great things in the world.
All right. Another thing that Candace is just fixated on, and I almost feel like she's fixated on it because it's almost like, feels like potentially a power trip, like being able to claim Charlie. In fact, I made a video about this, and it's the whole Catholic thing. Now, again, I got nothing against Catholics. I'm not a Catholic. I'm a Protestant, not because I'm anti-Catholic. I'm just not Catholic. I made a video saying it feels like she's trying to, it feels like her and other people are trying to claim Charlie.
Right.
And I said in my video that I made, the only people to get to claim Charlie are his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, Erica, and his children. Like that's it. His parents too, but I mean, he's a grown man. He's married with kids. Like it's God, his wife, his children. Was Charlie Catholic? Was Charlie enrolled in OCIA courses and things like that?
No, and it's funny because on the conversation with Candace and I, she brought up all these things, and I know it was because of my relationship with Eric, I'm sure. He was not taking classes. She said that people told her that he just liked the architecture, and so I threw myself into that because my husband's Catholic. My older daughter is Eastern Orthodox Catholic. I love going to the church to sit in it in reverence and tradition. Yes, that's literally, and again, it's not that deep. That's literally what it was. So he was not Catholic. He was not taking classes. He was doing none of those things, And so I think that whenever you try to, and put it in your words, claim something, again, you're hijacking the actual message of Charlie's faith and questioning where it comes from, what the foundation is. And I think Charlie was crystal clear in that. Yeah. And so to try to, again, poke holes in this and hijack this is what Candace is doing. And even in this situation, which she doesn't get to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I agree with this right here. I disagree with what Graham is about to say right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and let it be known, let it be said. I disagree with what Graham is going to say in this next section about the whole Catholic thing. We don't need to turn that into something. We don't need to turn that into a big whoop-to-do. I disagree with him. I believe he's wrong about that, what he's about to say. However, I do think that the point that they're making, and I've said this before, Candace is painting a picture of a Charlie Kirk who's a fraud. And that's what she's concocting. She's making it an issue where he's a fraud. He said one thing on stage. He said one thing in front of college students, but he did something else behind closed doors. That makes him a fraud, a hypocrite, a liar even. So let's let him finish up. Let's go.
I mean, it's kind of a natural lead into the next thing, and I hate to even have to talk about it, but again, the obsession with the Catholicism thing, I don't know if she feels like maybe if she can prove it, she gets to claim it, or maybe if she can prove it, that might upset some donor. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And that's the psychosis, to your point, of this whole thing.
Correct.
All of these things that we're talking about, what does it matter? Even okay, Erica apparently had a boyfriend or something before Charlie. Who has it? Well, I haven't had a boyfriend, but
careful.
But who had? Yeah, that'll be the next thing. But okay, I dated other women before I married my wife, and my wife dated other men before she married me.
Right.
And the whole thing is turned into this whole things that are completely normal in life. Even if Charlie did hey, I like this part of Catholicism, but I can't I like that.
Right.
He said something along the lines of Protestants may have overcorrected with Mary, which I also agree with that. That as Protestants, we don't give Mary her due enough. We don't venerate her enough. We don't honor her enough.
Yeah, she's kind of important.
Very important. That I agree with wholeheartedly. Yeah. I love the Catholic Church and the adoration that where you can just go and you can just
that's what Charlie loved to do.
You can just be with the Lord. I love those things. Why does it matter?
I think just if I looked at this from a 30,000 foot view, I think it's just that she methodically wants to try to tear them down and is trying to connect dots. Like I said earlier, they don't connect. So even to the dating part of it, right? I met one of Erica's, ex-boyfriends, big deal. Yeah. I mean, none of this stuff matters, and that's what this whole expose, from what I'm understanding, is she's trying to put this timeline together to where Erica's not this and she's not this but there is a consistency of character that people that know Erica. And so none of these things are criminal. Like I said, I mean, if Charlie loved to sit in a Catholic church because he loved the reverence and the tradition, so I do the same thing.
Lock him up for doing such a thing. How dare he?
But I think it's to seed the doubt, it's to seed the implication, it's to let somebody then draw their conclusion through their psychosis to come to the other side of this is what actually happened.
They're hiding things from us.
Exactly. And that's the interesting thing in the world today. It's like, because I thought about it too. It's like, if you don't say anything, then silence means compliance. If you do say something and you're coming out ahead, then you have something to hide. Yeah. So you really can't win. So do what you got to do and do what's right anyway.
Candace is putting the seed of doubt that it's not a lie, but if they will lie about Charlie being Catholic, what else will they lie about? Yeah. Well, the same thing with what we've debunked already.
Correct.
If Candace will lie about that, what else will Candace lie about?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Another conspiracy that was going around, circulated by Candace and many others, was Charlie even buried? What was the burial? Did the burial actually happen? Why do we not have any proof of any kind that Charlie was buried or where Charlie is buried? Well, and then my response was, well, because he was just murdered. So if people knew where he was buried, they'd desecrate his burial, all of this stuff. Can you confirm to the world right now that you know for a fact that Charlie Kirk was buried?
Yes. Yes. And my question to that, or my statement to that, is your entitlement is deafening.
Crazy. Yeah.
Because
I wasn't invited to the private thing. You don't hear me whining about it.
No, I mean, and
I wasn't either.
I wish I wasn't there. And so, when you witness that and then you realize the climate of the world, Erica did everything she needed to do to protect that and for her children.
And rightfully so.
And for her children. I mean, they have a memorial at TPUSA if you ever want to go and give your respects, but you're not entitled.
You're not, absolutely.
And that's where
this is a real family, real lives. They deserve to have the privacy to go visit her husband and their dad.
And their daddy.
And people like this is not, it makes zero sense.
I mean, imagine though, Graham, imagine someone actually having the mindset that you take that away from Erica and you take that away from the children to basically go in private and to, honor their dad. These kids are forever impacted. Yeah. And Erica has done a beautiful job with building a village, around her children to have the influences that she knows that are important.
Well, my message to people watching this is simply this. One day, the Kirk children are going to grow up and they're going to ask the question, where were my daddy's friends? Where were my mom's friends? And why didn't you do something? Why didn't you say anything? And that's one reason that I have been so vocal, is not only my love for Charlie and ergo my love for Erica through Charlie, but also for his children.
Yes.
Because the Kirk children are going to grow up.
Yes.
They're going to become adults. And Lord help all the people that have turned on their mother and their father. And I just, not me. I'm not getting to heaven and the Lord looking at me and being like, why did you not do anything? I hate to bring this one up, but I have to. Candace has now gone on this thing that Erica is some sex trafficker with this Romanian charity organization and things like this. And I bring this up because...
And I'm going to stop for a hot second. And I'm going to bring it up again. Shout out to the Candace supporters that are watching this video. What are you going to do? Who do you believe? The woman that actually was at the memorial, at the funeral, or Candace? The woman that spent 15 years with Erica or Candace? And then I got to just ask why. Why do you believe who you believe? This woman is putting herself out there. I believe Tracy Martin. So therefore, I believe Tracy Martin. Then I don't believe Candace Owens when Candace Owens said that Erica sat on the tarmac for an hour. It's weird that her family didn't come. All those things like that get pushed to the curb. Candace is going to have to come back. You have to meet something. You have to come up with something new. So my question to you is, why do you believe this stuff? Why do you believe Candace Owens? That's my question. Let's go.
To my understanding, you were
Yes.
involved in this.
Yes.
Can you explain to us in very layman's terms what this charity was?
Mhm.
Because as I understand it, it was more of like a Toys for Tots type thing
Correct.
than anything else. Can you just can you
Yeah.
help us debunk this? Erica was involved in this
Yeah.
Romanian child sex trafficking scandal.
It's getting so crazy. So the Romanian Angel Project was part of one of her projects underneath her LLC that she has a nonprofit for,
Mhm.
because it was not just one thing; it was multiple things that she
Right.
wanted to actually be involved in and help. And so she came to me and she's like, "Hey, I want to do this. There's an orphanage that we can go and we can find out their needs." And again, I've said this to people. Well, don't you think you know what their needs are? No, I don't. And I want to make sure that we're getting them something. I don't know how these kids live in Romania. Okay. I know how kids live in here and they're entitled, but I mean, I don't, they're simple things. It was, toothbrush, games, books, MP3 players, I think, and coloring things or whatever. And it was a list. And so we got the list. And then families, there's multiple people that would donate or would be a part of it. And so we would go and my daughters would go with me. And the thing for me as a mother was just that I wanted my girls involved in this. And I trust Erica explicitly with what she chooses to get behind. And I want my daughters to experience helping someone else.
Right.
And so we would go, we'd purchase the gifts that were on our list. You would pick either a boy or a girl or whatever it was. And we go, and then we intentionally created a tether, I guess. So I would buy specific Christmas wrapping paper, and then my daughters would wrap the paper. And then once these gifts were delivered with the help of the military, because we couldn't ship direct.
Yeah, the Marines were involved in this.
Exactly. So, and we packaged.
Seems like very verifiable stuff, Candace, but either way.
I know.
Go
And
ahead.
so we would wrap everything up. We had a day, at Erica's house or where Lori lived. And so we would wrap everything up. It was a day. Everyone was there, prayed over all the gifts, just wanted it to make an impact. And then they would go. And I never went to Romania. I wish I would have gone to visit, but I never did. My kids were younger then. And so she would send a video back of this actually being done, which I know she did that because she wanted things to be.
It's on YouTube. I've seen it.
Yes.
It's like 12 years old video.
Exactly.
It's on YouTube.
It's been there forever.
Yeah.
And then my kids, selfishly, my kids would see the video and they would see their Christmas wrapping paper. And they were like, we did that all the way around the world.
Yeah.
And so, but you don't get to hijack something so amazing as what this was. And that was Erica's heart. And her 501c3 was started out of the death of one of her friends.
Right.
As a teenager. So this is her heart, you know what I mean? And so the Romanian Angel Project is interesting because people interject all the child trafficking, all the sex trafficking, all the things, right? Has nothing to do with what she did.
Right.
Does it happen around the world? It happens here in Phoenix. So yes, it does.
Yeah.
And it's horrific. So if somebody's worried about that, get involved locally.
Yeah. Atlanta is one of the biggest hubs of sex trafficking here in America. So everyone who lives in Atlanta is a sex trafficker.
Right. Proximity is what
proximity
we're saying,
is all these things. And not to downgrade the charity at all. I think that's amazing what it was, but
it's not that deep.
Correct. Right. Like, the way it's been thing is this super in-depth, lots of money exchanged and all this other kind of stuff. It sounds like there was no money exchanged.
No.
And it was just people almost like, what do they call it at churches where you take the name off the tree?
Christmas angel.
Yeah, Christmas angel.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. It seems very similar to that.
And just that time of the year. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes things aren't that deep. You know what I mean? Sometimes they are really simple.
Yeah.
And that's what this was. It was just a simple thing to be able to give back. That was literally it. And those of us that were parents in it, we wanted our kids to see it, and so that's where, and the conversation of like what you said a minute ago, throwing around the money and all that kind of stuff, that muddies the water of what the mission actually was, because there was no money.
Right.
There was nothing involved in any of this at all.
Well, Ms. Tracy, I appreciate your bravery in all of this, but I have to ask you a personal opinion question to end this thing out. I've reached out to Candace multiple times, text the number I had for her multiple times, figured, well, maybe she's changed her number. So I reached out to a mutual friend, Brandon Tatum, and I said, Brandon, will you give this message to Candace? This was months ago. I was like, I need to understand. I just want to understand why she's doing what she's doing. She's never spoken to me, but she's spoken to you. So my question to you is, I don't believe that Candace secretly loved Charlie and all that. I believe she loved the power that Charlie potentially had, my opinion.
Right.
I do not believe she actually wants the truth in what happened to Charlie Kirk. I believe Tyler Robinson, my personal belief, should get the death penalty, and his justice is coming. Again, my belief. Why do you think Candace is doing what she's doing? After speaking to her, why do you think that we are where we are having this conversation right now?
And again, it's my opinion as well, but observing after the phone call and the behavior, I just think she wants to destroy Erica, and I think she wants to destroy Turning Point. I honestly do. I think that it's a combination, and it may not even be that deep for her. You know, I mean, there's money involved. She's making a lot of money off these podcasts. And then she brought up, well, Turning Point's making a lot of money. They should. Charlie paid with his life.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So, I mean, I don't know what her intention is. I asked her what her end game was, and she said to find truth. And I said, if that's the case, do you have the humility, and this is my thought, that you possess to pivot and right this wrong? You know, because ultimately I believe that if you are in that position and you find out information that is true and factual, which is what you say you want, when you have that information in front of you, you have a responsibility then to right the wrong. And so, and I actually asked her that just to throw this in there. I asked her that on the phone call. How are you going to right the wrong against my family?
Here it comes.
And she said, I will instantaneously put a message out. And that didn't happen.
Whoa. Okay. All right. So on your phone call with Candace, you debunked certain things.
Many things.
And she said on the call that she would, like in a week, immediately.
Instantaneously was the word.
She said she would instantaneously make a correction. And as of the time of this filming, when did you speak to her?
Last Sunday.
Last Sunday. So as of the time of this filming, she has not kept her word.
No. And she did say she was not filming this week, you know, and I'm like, well, it doesn't take a rocket science to put a message out.
She said she was going to put a post
instantaneously, yes. And the other,
because she's been on Twitter. So again, Cantifa or Candace supporters, I got to ask you the question. I'm going to ask again, why is it that Candace hasn't retracted any of these things that Tracy has corrected her on? Come on, you got to start asking that question. Tracy has told you about the Catholic thing. She's explained about Charlie's burial, about the tarmac, about her mother being sick. She's corrected all of these errors that Candace has put out there. Why has Candace not corrected it? Why has she not corrected it? That's going to have to be the question that you ask. You don't have to ask Tracy any more questions. You don't have to ask Graham Allen any more questions. Your questions now, Candace supporters, must be directed at Candace. You're going to have to ask her these questions and get some real solid bona fide answers. That's it. No other way around it. There's no other way. That's it. Let's go. We're almost done.
other thing that I addressed to her was about other people that are doing what she's doing, and the gentleman, Stu Peters. And he has taken her content and included myself in all of his content as well, and done all these bashing. And I said, your friend Stu is doing the same thing that you are doing. And she said, well, he's not my friend, but I would be happy to reach out to you if he's giving you headaches. That didn't happen.
Reach out to him. Okay. All right.
To stop, because we realize these are not connecting the way that you want them to connect, or her words are tracking.
So I guess my biggest question is, if Candace can't keep her word about something as small as putting an X post out to correct something, how can the viewers that watch Candace trust her to do anything?
Well, and especially for I'm a little peon. I'm a nobody. It's just that you picked the wrong person, because I don't believe you get to do this. And so I don't believe that there is a core of honesty to actually right these wrongs and to turn things in the right direction, to seek truth if that's what you want. So the instantaneous message didn't come out. It didn't right the wrong. And that's why I reached out to you, because I needed to do this for myself and for Erica. And ultimately for Charlie, because I think you are degrading Charlie's legacy by doing this to his wife.
I couldn't agree more. Miss Tracy, I applaud your bravery. I thank you for sitting here with us and actually doing what Candace claims that she's doing, putting facts to everything, putting truth to everything, actually having these conversations and not having conversations behind closed doors and then telling people their side of the thing. This is you. This is your 15 years of lived experience with Erica, and you know, God bless you for it. Thank you for standing up for Erica. Thank you for standing up for your friend. But even if she wasn't your friend, thank you for being willing to take the blows that came before this and will probably come after this. Is there anything that you want to say to the people watching this at home?
You know, I really just think that most people need to have the courage. They need to realize that when you know something that is true and factual, logically address it. Don't go through the chaos. Don't be sucked into the machine, because you will become the machine eventually. There's no ways around that. And I think this is really easy to do. I mean, I appreciate your words, but it's easy because the truth stands on its own. And so there's nothing to hide. I'm happy to have confrontational conversations with anyone because I stand on that truth. And I know that God is all over this conversation. And I know that he knows Erica's heart. And that's really all that matters. It's no one else's job to judge another. And if you are a Christian and if you are a believer, I think you should get back in the word if you're questioning that. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Instead of he said, she said, rumor mills, tip lines, there you have it. There's the information. There's the other side of the story. Now it's up to you to decide what you're going to do with it. I didn't realize.
Shout out to Graham. Shout out to Graham for sure. And I'm right there with him. I'm sorry. If you are a Candace supporter, explain to me why. Why is Candace not addressing these issues? What she said about the daughter and the mom saying that she doesn't think that she should go with them. Look at the timeline. That doesn't comport. What she said about the children, that doesn't comport. What she said about the funeral, all those things. So you're going to have to start asking those questions. I think Tracy sounds like a very credible witness. And like I said before, Tracy could be called as a character witness. Candace wouldn't. Candace would not be called as a witness. And there's a good reason behind that. So shout out to Graham Allen. That was an excellent interview. That was great. I loved it. I loved it. And hopefully we'll see more of those kinds of good conversations and such like that. Now, we are going to shift gears a little bit. Let me shout out real quick. Thank you so much to NDoug. NDoug4 has been blessing members since early on in my YouTube journey. Been extending out the memberships countless times. So shout out to NDoug. Thank you so very much for the very kind, very supporting the podcast with that. And then also thank you to Adam. Adam dropped a 20 on us. And what did he say? He said this: we need to somehow put in Candace's face everything she has said and then deny saying it so she can self-regulate. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to tell you what I think needs to happen, Adam. I think what needs to happen is we need to continue as a community, as a people who believe that Charlie Kirk was deleted by Tyler Robinson and that the right person is in jail and is on trial. We need to keep putting it in the face of the Candace supporters. They should get no duck and cover. They should get always put in their faces. Why is Candace not addressing this? That's why I keep asking Candace about the Egyptian plane. That's why, matter of fact, I got it right here. Like, why have we gotten the Egyptian plane or the information about the assassination plot on your life? Why are we not getting that information? We have to keep putting it in their faces. And it's not going to be on Candace. Candace, I think, as I've said before, and I do mean this, the Lord is going to have to deal with Candace. God is going to have to deal with Candace. That's just it. But those persons, the Candace supporters, we're gonna just keep it in their faces. We're just keep it in their faces. Why is Candace not addressing Tracy? Why is Tracy not getting addressed by Candace? Why is Candace not addressed this? Why is Candace? We need to just keep putting it in their faces and never let off the pedal. If we get tired, somebody else jump in. But we're just going to stay on their backside. We're going to stay on their bumper. That's what I think will happen. Candace is never going to change, regretfully, unless the Lord does something in her heart. And I did drop this. Thank you so much, SC Dog. I did send you that. I already did that video on that last week. I sent you the reply back with the video link that I addressed the rabbi who debunked. That's yet another example. The whole Rabbi Walwicki, that guy, and what he had to say. And again, that's contrary to what Candace said. So now, who do you believe? The actual rabbi, or you believe Candace? There you go. Shout out for sure. Thank y'all so much, everybody. I appreciate y'all. She won't change unless she wants to. Pray she will. We're gonna leave Candace alone. What am I drinking? I had some iced coffee earlier, and now I had this little like a refresher or something, it's like the little tea refresher. You put the squirt of the stuff in there and put some ice water in there, and it like turns into tea. That's what I'm drinking tonight. So let's see, keep it rocking, keeping it going. All right. So a lot of people ask me about, and I have to admit, I did not watch this. So we're going to be all watching together. Brandon Tatum was on an interview recently, and I'm going to bring this in. I downloaded it, so it's not actually on YouTube anymore. So it is on the channel, though. I think it's called JTV is the name of the channel. Well, let me see. For some reason or other, my YouTube was looking weird. So I just said, let me just download it. So I downloaded it. Anyway, I'll make sure the link is in the chat. Yeah, this is brain rot on display for sure. No question, no doubt, no argument for me. All right, so let me bring this in. It looked like a good interview. A lot of people had brought it up and asked me would I check it out. So we'll do that. Let's go.
Is not a Christian. I don't think he reads his Bible. I don't think he understands the Bible if he is reading it. And I don't think he's dedicated to the faith like he claims that he is. Because
okay, now Brandon Tatum saying somebody is dedicated to the scriptures is kind of wild, because Brandon Tatum denies the Trinity. So he's a oneness Pentecostal. So that's going to be a oneness. He's a oneness. That's going to be pretty wild. Yeah, that's kind of wild. But I don't disagree what he said about Tucker. It's just funny that some of the stuff that he says about Tucker also applies to him. Let's go.
There's no way in the world that you would be advocating for Islam more than Christianity. You're advocating in countries that will kill Christians versus countries that embrace Christianity. I've been to Israel. I can't imagine a person claiming that there's persecution of Christians in Israel. Like, do some people do stupid stuff? Yeah, I mean, it happened in America. To think that Israel is like the capital of pedophilia or something is crazy to me, because the Catholic Church have more pedophilic claims than molestation of boys and stuff like that in the Catholic Church. If you believe in God, you read your Bible, there's no way on God's green earth you can look at the world like the far left or the far right. Abraham was promised a lineage and a land. He told Abraham an everlasting covenant. It is prophesied by the prophets that the Jewish people will return back to the land, never to be removed again.
Candace Owens, who I've had some interactions with, I'm sure you have had many, especially working with Turning Point. Do you have any insight also into what's going on? Okay, everyone, I am so grateful to be joined by a real media legend, Brandon Tatum. He is a former police officer, and he's now a huge media personality, speaking truth and common sense in a world that has at times gone pretty mad, or at least parts of the online world and the media world. Brandon, welcome to JTV, and thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I love your show. I'm glad that you invited me.
Oh, well, the feeling is mutual, and you're such an important voice right now, and I want to talk about the work that you're doing. And we were just saying off air that we have a little bit of a history, because I set up Turning Point in the UK under Charlie Kirk's guidance and direction. I met you in the Turning Point American headquarters. So you've been in this game for a while. Just before we get into all the craziness that we're seeing today, just for some of our viewers who might not be familiar with you, we have quite a global audience. Can you just tell us a little bit about just in a couple minutes, a bit about your journey into media and politics and how you got involved?
Yeah, it's quite interesting that it was all by accident, to be honest, on my part. I think God had a plan, but for me, it was all accident, right? I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, ended up playing college football. I was an All-American football coming out of high school, a football player coming out of high school. Went to the University of Arizona. I could have went anywhere, but for some reason, I felt like Arizona was my home. I ended up getting saved while I was in college. Was in the NFL draft in 2010. I did not get drafted, which was incredibly heartbreaking. But then I had a pivotal point to keep pursuing football or become a police officer, which at the time I didn't even think to become a police officer. I didn't want to become a police officer, to be honest, initially. I just applied because it was a good job with great benefits. And, you know, as a man, I felt like it was my obligation to be employed. I couldn't just sit around and wait for football to work out. And so the police department ended up calling me back, and I did a ride-along. And a ride-along, for the audience, if they don't know, in America, you can go to a police station. As long as you don't have any felonies or any crazy stuff like that, you can ask them to ride along with them on a shift. And you ride in the passenger seat. You're able to, you know, observe as much as you want. If you're too afraid to get out the car, they let you stay in the car. If you want to get out and stand by, and they give you a reflective vest, and you can watch police interactions up front. And it's an incredible, incredible opportunity for people to see what police actually do. Fell in love at a ride along, and I said, you know what, I want to do this for the rest of my life. Ended up becoming a police officer. Loved it. I was a PIO. I was on police SWAT, which is their special weapons and tactics unit. I taught police officers how to be police officers, so I did a lot of training and different things like that. And then I became political while I was a cop because I had never really touched on politics, never really cared, never voted. It just wasn't in my purview. And then while being a police officer, a lot of guys are conservative, and they really challenged my belief systems because I thought I was a Democrat on the left side, didn't realize that I was more of a Republican conservative, you know, based on my own personal expressed beliefs. So over time, I began to be more politically involved. I voted for Barack Obama. Then and in my opinion, I woke up to realize that the Democrat Party does not effectively work with the interests that I want for the country. Went to a Trump rally, made a video. I wasn't on social media. I wasn't interested in social media. I just made a video to articulate what my experiences were. It went viral. Then as a cop, I continued to make videos just on hot topics. I didn't know how to edit videos, so all I did was go live every time on Facebook. And in 2017, I made a video about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee for the national anthem, which is an American football player who's a nut job, in my opinion, and took a knee and disrespected our country and the flag. Made a video, went viral. 70 million views later, I ended up getting offered to be the head of a media company, or at least a spokesperson of a media company. Then I met Candace Owens. Then I met Charlie Kirk. Then I worked for Turning Point USA, and I've never looked back.
Wow. That's quite the story. And I remember watching your rise and your, becoming more prominent. And, how they say, a week is a long time in politics, and how things have changed just in the past few years. And, one of the things that just makes you really stand out is that you've actually been consistent in your values and speaking out about them. And one of those areas has been as parts of the right have descended into the pit of anti-Semitism and crazed conspiracy theories and all this kind of stuff, particularly around Erica Kirk, which is just insane. And so my question is, before we talk about the specific figures and understand what's going on there, let's just try and just zoom out for a second. What is your assessment as to why this has happened? Why are we seeing all this anti-Semitism and anti-Israel rhetoric rising on the right, conservative right now? Because I always thought, well, it's always going to be much more of a problem on the left because it can cover itself in virtue. I just care about the Palestinians, so that can go on the New York Times. But, neo-Nazi stuff isn't going to get a seat on Fox News because it's just culturally unacceptable. But slowly, it's kind of coming more in there.
Okay, I'm going to jump in real quick. I disagree with this question. I don't think the biggest issue is anti-Semitism on the right or on the left. I think the biggest issue is that America has become godless, that America does not understand who God is. And I'm not trying to oversimplify it or make it like just a simple fix, but no, it really is a simple fix. We don't know who God is, and we don't respect nor honor nor cherish God. And all the other issues, the anti-Semitism, to me, that's not is the biggest issue that America has. And maybe I'm just oversimplifying it, but there's a lot of problems that are right here at 123 Main Street. Before you even worry about what's going on in a sliver of land 9 time zones away, there's a lot of problems right here in the United States that don't have nothing to do with Israel. I mean, you're talking to a black man and you're asking him about anti-Semitism. What about black on black crime? What about black birth rates? What about black marriage rates? What about black literacy rates? There's a lot of other things that we could be talking about than just anti-Semitism. Is it a problem? Absolutely. Is it the biggest problem? No. The biggest problem is that we don't know who God is. We don't cherish God. We disrespect God. And the byproduct of that is anti-Semitism, is crazy out of whack single moms running around America and such of that nature. Everything else is a byproduct of that. There you go. That's my solution. But I'm gonna let him finish it up. But I disagree with this question. I don't think that needs to be the primary question by a mile. I don't think that's the biggest issue. All right, let's go.
I think it's really the devil. I think the devil has captured the minds of a lot of people. And it doesn't matter what side you're on if you're captured. That means on this side, you weaponize empathy. On this side, you have your weaponization on this side as well, no matter if you're right or left. I mean, if you believe in God and you have a relationship with God, you read your Bible. If you read not unless you read the Torah or the Bible, like the Christian Bible, where we have the New Testament and the Old Testament together. If you're reading the book, there's no way on God's green earth that you can have the perception and you can look at the world like the far left or the far right. To have these unjustifiable, unverified claims against Israel is asinine. For people to think that Erica Kirk is somehow in a pedophilic ring or something of that nature is so bizarre and evil, is crazy to me. And, because Erica works with our church when it comes to sex trafficking rescue. She's been connected to our church when it comes to sex trafficking rescue. We have the biggest sex trafficking rescue, I could say, the facility is one of the biggest. The movement that we have at our church, Dream City Church, is the biggest in the country. And my wife and I donate and support the church in that. We know they're not doing nothing crazy. Luke Barnett is our pastor. Tommy Barnett has established Dream City Church, the Dream Center, and all this for the last, I don't know how many years. He's 80 years old now and still preaching and still in the movement. So for people to insinuate certain things is
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Candace call out Dream City Church? I feel like that name came up before. I could be wrong, but I feel like she said something about Dream City Church. That's wild. And I'm gonna have to look into it. Maybe it was, I feel like it was like she said something about that church. You're right. I thought so. That's wild work. Okay. All right, let's go. I think she did. Okay. All right. Anyway, so she calling out Brandon Tatum's church and he gonna let it slide. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Gotta be either evil. Well, it's evil to start with, but I think that they're being influenced by the devil. I cannot see that anyone with common sense or relationship with God would even believe what they believe. The Israel thing is crazy to me. I don't understand, dude. Like, you cannot like what Israel is doing as a government. I don't like what our government do half of the time. That's totally normal and fine. You can have critiques of the war, right? You say, something happened to the screen. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay. So you can have your critiques on Benjamin Netanyahu, the execution of the war. You can say, I don't like the fact that the war lasted that long. I think that, you can have your critiques, but people that go far beyond that to say that the Jews run America, the Jews did 9/11, the Jews can't win. Like, the Jews killed Jesus. It goes down this crazy rabbit hole that I think is insane to me, to be quite.
I obviously completely agree. And as you can see, my dear viewers, you can see how courageous and morally clear Brandon is about all of this. And you're such a breath of fresh air. Let's unpack this a bit more. First of all, you're saying that it's evil and it's the devil. I mean, I very much resonate with that. But is there a way that we can diagnose that a bit more in terms of how it manifests? Because the Satan will utilize the most negative emotions within us. And, so what kind of emotions do you think are driving this? Like, is it resentment, envy? What's driving that? And what is the pathway for people who are stuck in this rut to help people come out of that and see the light?
Okay, I'm going to answer the question, and then I'm sure Brandon Tatum's going to give his answer. We'll see what happens. First of all, I think the diagnosis of the problem is, again, as I said before, people don't know who God is. So the solution to the problem is to preach the gospel. It must be on the forefront of our minds. It's not, I must attack this particular sin or vice in society and in culture. The problem is, I must tell people who God is, and they must fully understand that they are sinners in the hands of an angry God. That's it. That's the solution. So I properly diagnose the problem that people don't know who God is. Because once you know who God is, then you can once you orient him as your North Star, everything else can get in its proper place. There's a song from the 80s called Love in Its Proper Place. Once you put love in its proper place, you put God in the proper place, everything else makes sense. Everything else falls into place. So we're trying to put everything else in place, and God is not in his proper place in our lives, so in our society. So here, again, whatever the issue is, whatever the problem is that you want to point at, your pet sin in the world, I guarantee you the problem is that people don't know who God is. There it is. So that's my solution. Let's see what Brandon says. Here we go. What you got to say, Brandon?
Yeah, I think Satan is very cunning. Satan is not, in my opinion, this red figure with bull horns on his head. Satan manifested in the Garden of Eden as a serpent, very cunning. And Satan uses elements of truth to then expose a bigger manipulation into a lie, right? When Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, and Satan said, if you eat from this forbidden tree, your eyes will be open to good and evil, right? And you will become like God. He wasn't lying. But what he didn't tell them was what was the negative effects and how would that terminate the existence of humanity, and now we're headed towards a path of death. He gave a little bit of truth in order to manipulate a person into a complete devastating lie. And I think that the devil will work with whatever abilities a person has in order to help them be the best manipulator that they can. Some people are operating off envy. Some people are operating off jealousy. Some people are operating on revenge. Some people are operating on pure evilness. And it just really depends on the person and what their attributes are that the devil can use it to his advantage. So they're essentially working together with different talents. It's almost like the Avengers of hatred and evilness that's destroying our country, your country. I mean, I don't know if you live in the UK, but it's destroying the world, in my personal opinion. And the only way out is to have a real relationship with God. That's the only way out of this for people. And if people don't believe in God, they have no chance anyway. But if you believe in God, the only way out is to really take your own biases aside, pick up the book, and read what the Lord said. Read what the prophets said. Read what Abraham said, the promises to Abraham. You read your Bible, and it should give you a perspective to come out of the rut. A lot of this, and I'll say, and I hate to say this, but I believe this with my whole heart. it starts from hatred of Israel, and everything devolves from there. You are susceptible to any lie.
I'm sorry. That's again, I have no problem with our Jewish brothers and sisters. They come to Christ the same way that you and I do. The issue is not your hatred of Israel. Your issue is that you hate God. That's the problem. That is the $50,000 question, the $10 million problem, whatever it is, that you hate God. That's it. That's the issue. Is not no. I'm sorry, Brandon. That was not stellar by a mile. You missed that one by 4 days. Like for real. No, the issue is that we don't love God. We don't choose God. That's it. That's the problem.
Go on. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Yeah, so like when I watched the denigration of influencers that I used to like, that I thought at one point were very prominent and reasonable, and I see the denigration that don't just involve Israel alone. It degrades to falsehoods and false realities and manipulation in every other aspect of society. And I think it all starts from hatred of Israel. I think it all starts from,
like, see, that's what I'm saying. Like this argumentation is really boneheaded. And again, I got no problem with Jewish folk, but like, let me ask you a question. In what we see right now going on in Mexico, we watched that at the beginning of the show. We watched the attacks going on in Mexico. Please explain to me how that has anything to do with Israel. I just want to know. Let me know. Please tell me in the chat, how does that work? Like what we saw going on in Mexico right now with the cartels running amok, murdering and causing mayhem. How does that got to deal with somebody who hates Israel? I'll wait. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's ridiculous. Coming north of the border, anything going on in the United States. Tell me one of the crimes going on in the United States right now. Mamdani and his terrible, wicked leadership up there in New York. Whatever. What does that got to do with anything about Israel? I'm being for real. Like, help me out. Help me understand it. They hate God. That's the problem. It's not anything about Israel. I'm sorry, it's not. It is everything about, it has nothing to do with Israel. It has everything to do with the fact that they hate God. That's the problem. The sin issue is not going to be resolved by, oh, I love Israel. Because there's people who are sinners that claim that they love Israel and they hate God. That's not the problem. And I'm sorry, man. This is just, I'm sorry. Okay, let's go.
Turning your back on God and God's people, and then God opens you to a reprobated mind, which means that you're then susceptible to any conspiracy and any lie and any level of deception that's out there that a person can be involved with or be manipulated by. I see the same people that hate Israel and have an unjustifiable hatred towards Israel, that they then are creating falsehoods about Donald Trump and about the government, and they're overzealous about Epstein, and they're talking about Erica Kirk and believing lies about, they don't even believe that we got the killer in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Like it's just, you see it devolve on every single level, and the behavior is not academic, it's not reasonable with empathy, it's hatred, it's revenge, it's narcissism. You see these traits coming out of just very mean-spirited behavior.
What's that got to do with, okay, looking at Chicago right now, any murder that happened in Chicago, tell me how that person, that YN that killed that other person, had something to do with their hatred of Israel. I'll just wait. Like that's just silliness, man. And I don't think that every problem is not dealt with in Israel. Every problem is dealt with, I guess you could say, like at the foot of the cross. So if you want to say that, I'll let you have it. Every problem is dealt with at the foot of the cross. Like, what are we dealing with? That makes no sense, man. This is just silliness.
By everyone that I've seen that's involved in the start in the starting point of hating Israel unjustifiably.
Yeah, and this is why many Jewish activists will say, and non-Jewish as well, will say this is not actually just about anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is, as they say, the canary in the coal mine. It's the red flag that's saying, hey, this person or this society is going down a very dark path, and it leads to, it's precisely as you're saying, you're describing the same thing. It starts there, starts with the Jews, starts with Israel, but so much,
It doesn't, though. Like, what is, again, like the deletion of little people in the mother's womb? What's that got to do with Israel? Like, what are we talking about? I'm sorry. That one is just, I don't get, again, I don't think that this is the proper way to handle this problem, is by couching it as everything deals with Israel. I'm not saying that Israel's not important. I'm saying it is yet another issue, but it is in the wholeness of the fact that we hate God. That's it. I mean, that's it. Let's keep it dancing.
It leads to a terrible descent. Now, my question is, it's really impressive that you've, or maybe it shouldn't be impressive, but it is, because it's not so common, that you are a Bible-believing Christian, and you've looked at that and said, it is so clear to me that if I believe in this book, I should be a supporter of the Jewish people and Israel, not a hater, not a demonizer. I shouldn't be collectively holding the Jews guilty for the killing of Jesus. Can you help people who may also be in conservative Christian circles? Can you help explain to them why, from a biblical position, you have the views that you do?
Well, it's a multitude of reasons. The biblical position, or at least the fact that the Bible exists and we believe it exists, it involves the Torah. It involves the prophets. It involves a lot of that language as well that we can't just deny. We have to acknowledge it, and we have to read it with wisdom. Abraham was promised a lineage and a land. It doesn't say that, it doesn't just stop with that he's promised his people will be blessed forever, and his lineage through, I think it's one of his sons. I'm skipping the name right now, but through the lineage, he would be blessed forever, a chosen people. And then also they will have inheritance in a chosen land. None of that is somehow should be lost on people that believe in the Bible. And then Paul comes back.
We believe that, though. But that is a secondary issue. To me, there's still that, and I understand he's talking to Jews, but why not give the gospel? Why not present the gospel to them so they understand where you have hope and not where your hope is not? If that's not where your hope is, again, I just don't see Israel being the end all be all. Again, not saying it's not important, so I'm not going to say that again. But that's not the problem that we have. Here in America, the Black community has a completely out of range. Almost 80% of our little boys and girls are born to single mothers. What does that have to do with hatred of Israel? It has something to do with the hatred of God. That's the problem. Again, right. Why not talk about the promised seed? He's going to dance around that. And I think that's problematic, in my opinion.
In Romans 9, 10, and 11, and address the issue of the prophecy of how God is going to save his what? Chosen people. And you got to think that Paul is one of the biggest writers in the Bible. Most of the epistles, or all the Pauline epistles, is the majority of the New Testament. So I don't know how Christians can read the Bible, the Old and New, and still not get the point. Jesus was a Jew. I don't know how people miss that. And so was Peter. The founder of the church was Peter, and he was a Jew. All of the converts, initial converts, were all Jews. So you have the idea that there was the leadership that hated Jesus and wanted him to be killed. The Romans actually killed him, and it was co-opted by Jewish leadership. But it didn't stop there, because all of the movement that we see today in the Christian faith was also started by Jews. So you could say that they killed Jesus, but also they worked with Jesus and created the biggest movement ever created. You know, you see that the Bible is the best selling or the most popular book ever sold in history. And all of that came from what? Jews. And I think that people who have Jewish derangement syndrome, they can't see it, and they're willing to defy their own Messiah in order to push an agenda. You would never find in the Bible where Jesus abandoned his people. The Bible says that the gospel will go to the Jew first and then the Gentile. There's so many scriptures that articulate very clearly. I'll just say it like this. You never seen Jesus talk to the Gentile. Jesus never preached to the Gentiles. There was no conversion of Gentiles in Jesus' day, or at least in his purview.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Brandon Tatum doesn't know what he's talking about. Brandon Tatum doesn't know what he's talking about. There have been countless Gentiles, the lepers, the Samaritan woman. The Samaritans were not a part of the Jewish populace. I mean, Brandon, you don't even know what you're talking about, man. I'm sorry. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're wasting your time trying to make this about something that it doesn't need to be. And he just totally missed that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's just dumb. Hold on one second. Okay, no, I'm just reading through this. Okay. Yeah, that was just, I mean, the centurion. I mean, there's so many examples. Yeah, I mean, Brandon, and it's funny, he talks about reading the Bible, but again, he doesn't believe in the Trinity. So, Jesus, God was put on his Jesus hat and was crucified. But again, this guy, Brandon, come on, man.
Jesus really only talked to the Jewish people. So our Savior was,
he knows he's saying that wrong.
Go for it.
Yeah, no. Our Savior was acknowledging and living as a Jewish person. He never gave up the Sabbath. And Christians, I think, fail in this a lot. Is that they're going to secularized and they're going away from what Jesus established. Jesus did not forego the Sabbath. Neither did any of the apostles. None of them. They did not they did not convert to Christianity. They just.
Y'all, who told me to watch this? Who told me to watch this? Y'all, come on, man. This is embarrassing. I don't think Brandon knows what he's talking about. Wow.
Gave a message of Jesus Christ, which was, and I think a reality check for the Jewish leadership. It didn't turn into another religion. People have now turned it into another religion. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in Christianity today. And that's why you see people jumping on the train of somehow hating the very foundation of their faith.
You have gone again.
I think he confused the host. I think this guy is confused too. I'm sorry. This is embarrassing, man. Well, Brandon Tatum technically is a heretic because he denies the Trinity. So he technically is a heretic. He holds to heretical teachings. Modalism is a false teaching. So, I mean, that is what it is. Yeah, let me just leave it alone. Let's go.
And try to make the case against people that articulate replacement theology, that God has effectively torn up his eternal covenant with Israel, based on the basic logic that if God says, I have an eternal covenant with you, that, as I heard you say in a speech, what part of eternal don't you understand? And more than that, if God can remove an eternal covenant that he gave to someone, then why should I trust any covenant that he gives? What do you think is the strongest response to the replacement theology camp?
It's just really the Bible and the promises made to Abraham, the father of our faith. What are we even saying? He told Abraham an everlasting covenant. Like, what does an everlasting? That means that God lied. He lied. He lied to Abraham. And that means his yays are not yay and nay is not nay. That means that God is fickle. And then if God is fickle and he could change at the drop of a dime with no prophetic reasoning or no prophetic warning, then what's to say that we even have faith as Christians in God's promise to us? None of it matters. It's all hogwash. God is fickle. You shouldn't even trust God. You can't trust God if that's the case. It is prophesied in the scripture of an everlasting covenant. It is prophesied by the prophets that the Jewish people will return back to the land, never to be removed again. These things, and if you go to Israel, because none of these people that really hate Israel have ever been to Israel. You go to Israel, and I go on a Christian tour, and the God that articulates to us picks up the Bible in the Old Testament, and he says, the Bible prophesied this. This is the prophecy fulfilled right here. This is the prophecy fulfilled in this area, this area, this area. I mean, even when we go to the southern part of Israel and you see the date farms, and they on the palm trees that's in the middle of the desert, and they talk about a prophecy of how in the desert there's going to be this and this and that, and the tour guide reads this and said this is biblical prophecy. Like, so
it's almost as if, and that's why one of the reasons why people disconnect Christianity is almost like this is almost in a pie in the sky type of approach. You know, I got saved and all I'm doing is looking up in the sky, waiting for Jesus to come down. I'm not worried about stuff that's going on here. It's almost a form of that, a form of pie in the sky. Like I'm just waiting for my Savior to come. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to take care of my family. Not going to try to work hard. Not going to do all that stuff. I'm just going to wait for my Jesus to come get me. And that's kind of what this is. Like, I'm not worried about what's going on here. I'm worried about that sliver of land the size of New Jersey, 9 time zones away. Like, you're not worried about what's going on right here. All you're talking about is what's going on over there. And again, whether or not this guy, the host, is kind of queuing them up only to talk about that, okay, whatever. But you could be talking about what's going on that's most important. I mean, I guarantee you in Brandon Tatum's neighborhood where he lives, I'm going to go on a limb and say the vast majority of people in his neighborhood do not care about Israel like that. However, they are concerned about their taxes. They are concerned about crime rate and the schools doing well and this, that, and the other. That's what they're really concerned about. And Brandon's not talking about the things that are most important. To me, I feel like you're missing a good opportunity to show where the gospel actually is applied. And again, like I don't see why, even if it is, okay, fine, it's Jewish television. I can still bring it back to what's important here. I can still talk about what's important here. That doesn't preclude me if I'm talking about on a Jewish channel. I mean, there's no Jewish people in Brandon's neighborhood in Texas that are, or is he in Texas or Arizona? I don't remember. There's no Jewish people there that are also impacted by fentanyl, that are also impacted by S trafficking, that are also impacted by other things. Again, like, to me, it just seems like, why are we talking about that and not bringing to bear the fact that the gospel is the issue, that the all-sufficient solution to this problem that we're seeing. The global problem, the world problem, the multiversal problem is the gospel. I invited him to talk about those topics because Brandon Tatum is a lot of things, but he talks about America's problems all the time. Okay, if that be the case, I stopped rocking with Brandon Tatum a long time ago, so maybe he does talk about them. Okay, but why not talk about them here, though? And you have an audience that could also stand to hear this issue, the conversation. And I'm not even saying you got to be rude and disrespectful, but why not bring it to bear? Like, I don't understand. And please let me know if bringing the gospel to bear in a conversation where the gospel is truly the solution to the problem, let me know, like, how am I missing that? And truly, I mean, and let's bring this up. He talked about stuff, and he's saying stuff that's wrong. He's saying a ton of stuff already that's wrong. So, okay, to me, okay, maybe I'm oversimplifying it.
I don't understand how people don't see that. And the replacement theory, in my opinion, they have to articulate very clearly, where does it say that in the Bible, that there's going to be some great replacement? Where does it say that in the Bible? Nobody that wrote in the Bible believed in the replacement theory. Nobody. They can't find an author. Which author? It wasn't Jesus. It wasn't Peter. And Paul wrote most of the New Testament. And Paul clearly said in Romans 11, he talks about how God is going to save his chosen people. He tells the Gentiles, do not be arrogant. And then he also articulates how God has provoked the Jewish people to jealousy. And then he goes on in verse 26-ish that God, once the fullness of the Gentiles have come into the faith, God will then save all of Israel at one time. There is no replacement. It's really an adoption. And you look at the Bible, you look at any New Testament scripture, the Gentile have been adopted into the faith through Christ Jesus. We haven't replaced anything. And, you know, even Jesus says that I didn't come to do away with the law, but I came to fulfill the law. Not one jot or tittle will be changed in the law until it's completely fulfilled. And I think he said heaven. What Jesus actually said was heaven and earth will like pass away before a jot or tittle is changed in the law. That means that the earth.
Who's Jesus, Brandon? Who's Jesus? Again, maybe, then I apologize, y'all, because I see a lot of people coming at your boy's neck. That's fine. That's fine. Whatever. I just don't think that Brandon Tatum is the wrong one to be having this conversation. Because again, I got your point. I understand. There's a lot of problems here. And what he's saying, in my opinion, I think I can make a solid case. What he's saying is extremely illiterate, biblically illiterate. And I mean, just to say, hey, Jesus said this. Well, I'm going to ask Brandon who Jesus is, because Brandon is a modalist. He doesn't believe that Jesus is God. So therein is a problem. So yeah, this is not his best look by a long shot. Let's get done.
Will pass away before there's any change to the law. And if the law has never changed, then how is there a replacement theory at all? So, I mean, those are some of my arguments. I'm long-winded when it comes to it because it's so many different angles, but I don't understand how a Bible-reading Christian can think there's any kind of replacement. Yeah. There's an adoption, but not a replacement.
The thing I find just so absurd is that literally the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, is the story of the nation of Israel being born and God taking them to their promised land. And in fact, the book of Genesis, before you get to Exodus, when God is talking to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob about his promises to their descendants, he hardly actually mentions the laws. It's all about the land that I'm promising to you as an eternal inheritance. And it's just wild. I don't know if you are aware of this, but the most famous Torah commentator is a rabbi called Rashi. He was a French medieval rabbi. And his first comment on the Torah is he said, why did God begin with the creation of the world? Why not start with the first law, right? Why do you need to, this is a book of laws, right? Why start with the whole creation? Many reasons given, but the reason he gave, and I find it pretty crazy as well that we were reading this on October 7th, 2023, we're starting the book again, the Torah, is he said, because the nations of the world will say to the Jews, you are thieves, you don't have a right to the land of Israel. And the nations will respond, God is the creator of heaven and earth, and he assigned this land to us. And so this is like the central to the whole story of the Torah. So it's obviously just completely insane to hold a Bible and say, as we've seen some people, including the person I wanted to mention next, Tucker Carlson, do. Tucker, you mentioned earlier that if you just go and expose yourself, you go to see Israel, you'll get the information you need. Well, Tucker's been doing a pit stop tour of the Middle East, talking about focusing obsessively on how Christians are being persecuted in Israel, and not in any other country in the Middle East. That's not relevant at all. But he talks about what's happening in Israel, and it turns out that he's today actually taken, it's being reported, a private jet to Israel to do one quick interview with Ambassador Mike Huckabee, where I assume he's just going to attempt to try and destroy him. And that's it. What do you make of what's going on with Tucker? Why has this happened? Do you have any insight into what's really gone on here?
It's very interesting. I don't know. I don't like to make accusations that people are getting paid, but it does seem like there's a level of influence from Qatar and from some of these, I don't know, like, I don't know if it's money. I don't know if it's just hatred towards Israel. I don't get it, because it's funny that they talk about genocide, but they never talk about the genocidal nature of all these Islamic countries that were overwhelmingly Christian. Some of them are overwhelmingly Christian and Jewish, and they all get exterminated because of conquest from Muslims. And then the crazy thing is that I've been to Israel. Like I can't imagine a person claiming that there's persecution of Christians in Israel. Like, do some people do stupid stuff? Yeah, I mean, it happened in America. The transgender go into a Christian church and shoot it up. That's far more violence in America against Christians than you ever see in Israel. I went to Israel. People that don't go, maybe they think it's barbaric, like Iraq or something like that. I don't know what they're thinking. I went to Israel. We went on a Christian tour. We were worshiping in the Christian faith on the Sea of Galilee. Every hotel we went to, Christians everywhere. Christians were everywhere in Israel, doing tons of tourism in the old city of Jerusalem. I mean, you name it, everywhere. We didn't even go to Tel Aviv, but I'm pretty sure there's Christians all over Tel Aviv. There's Christian churches in Israel. One of the biggest, I would say, media organizations is TBN, and they got a crazy studio in Israel overlooking Jerusalem. I mean, Christians come out there all the time. They do. It's crazy. My pastor, or one of the pastors that I love, Pastor Alan Jackson, I think he's gone to Israel 50 times. When I went, he took 200-300 people with him from the church to Israel. And he do it every year for like 20 years. So it's not what some try to suggest that it is. I mean, tell me why there's hundreds of thousands of Christians. I think it's over 180,000 Christians that live in Israel. And the population is either maintained or it grows year over year. In Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus, used to be majority Christian. I'm talking 80% or so Christians. Now it's 17%, 13%. Why in Gaza, it's only like 1,000 Christians in Gaza? Like, people have to use their common sense. You cannot proselytize in the West Bank or in Gaza. Go to Syria and proselytize. Go to Jordan, go to Egypt, and think you're gonna push and build Christian churches. I mean, it's mind-blowing to me that people even attempt this. But I'll say this, Tucker is not a Christian. Tucker is leveraging the faith to demonize or to prove his falsehood points to make himself seem right. There's no way that Tucker is a legitimate Christian, in my opinion. I don't think he reads his Bible. I don't think he understands the Bible if he is reading it. And I don't think he's dedicated to the faith like he claims that he is. Because there's no way in the world that you would be advocating for Islam more than Christianity. You're advocating in countries that will kill Christians versus countries that embrace Christians.
Hey, Brandon, how does one become a Christian? What does Tucker need to do to be a Christian? Because if I'm not mistaken, this gentleman said that he worked for TPU UK. So I'm assuming he at least has a passing understanding of the Christian faith. So Brandon, how does one become a Christian? Since Tucker is not a Christian, and I do agree, by the way, I don't believe Tucker's a Christian. How does he become a Christian, Brandon? Could you tell me how Tucker would become a Christian? That might be pretty interesting to hear. Could you explain it to us real quick? Break it down to us.
Christianity. That's why all the Christians are in Israel, because they escaped all these Muslim nations to go to Israel, where they had sanctuary. There is no way that you would be talking about whatever went on in Gaza and you won't talk about the Christians that are being slaughtered by Muslims on a day-to-day basis. They won't even mention it. They won't even talk about it. And then you claim you care about so many people, but you won't even talk about potential genocide that's going on against their own people in Iran. Why?
Well, indeed. And it is for me hard to make sense of, like, does Tucker actually believe this, or is there something else that's leading to do it? I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer. And then the other question, of course, the other figure, of course, that we have to discuss is Candace Owens, who I've had some interactions with. I'm sure you have had many, especially working with Turning Point. Do you have any insight also into what's going on there? I mean, to be honest, I felt like I actually didn't see her talk that much about Israel. I know she went to Israel with Charlie Kirk for the embassy opening. I mean, I don't know. My guess would be more just like, Charlie said, hey, come, let's go to this. So it's less about some kind of principled, I love Israel with all my heart thing, and just an opportunity to go visit it. I didn't actually see her talk about Israel all that much. But what I did see is, when the Kanye West stuff started happening, she was very defensive about that. She said, as a friend, I need to defend him. I thought, well, you don't have to defend it. You don't have to say anything. You could just, just be like, I don't want to get involved in this whole thing, but you choose to say and start defending the anti-Semitic stuff. And then since, October 7th, even before that, to be honest, but certainly afterwards, just the obsession, it's gone from just about how much he hates Israel, but it's like classic old school, the Jews are controlling and can do pornography, and the Talmud is full of wanting to rule. What's going on?
I mean, dude, I would be a trillionaire if I can tell you what's in the mind of Candace Owens.
I can tell you, and I don't even need to be a trillionaire. I don't even need to be a trillionaire. Here it is. You ready? Here it is. A big screen, big screen. Candace Owens hates God. There. 4 words. Candace Owens hates God. There you go. 4 words. That's the problem. Everything else is a byproduct of the fact that she hates God. That's it. I solved all the world's problems. Brandon, you can become a trillionaire, I guess.
I really don't know. Candace has historically been such a good friend of mine. I love her to death. She's always been very kind and sweet to me. Over the years, we started Blexit together. I have never in my life had a problem with Candace Owens. And I think to this day,
even to the point that she just called your church a false church. Remember that? She just called your Dream City Church a false church. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Okay. I'm just saying. And anybody that respects Israel, she hates them, or she thinks that they're co-opted. Okay. I'm just wondering, like, how does this work out? I don't know how it plays out. I'm gonna back up this little smidgen. Make sure we get a running start. Let's go.
Classic old school, the Jews are controlling and can do pornography, and the Talmud is full of wanting to rule. What's going on?
I mean, dude, I would be a trillionaire if I can tell you what's in the mind of Candace Owens. I really don't know. Candace has historically been such a good friend of mine. I love her to death. She's always been very kind and sweet to me. Over the years, we started Blexit together. I have never in my life had a problem with Candace Owens. And I think to this day, I still don't have a problem with her. I just don't like the stuff that she say. And I think that she's incorrect about a lot of things she say. And I bet you $1 million she think the same about me. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I'm just giving you a very basic understanding of my history with Candace. We were both Democrats. We woke up in 2016, right around Trump's election. We became really good friends in 2018. We started a nonprofit together. We've been working together ever since. I have been on her shows, every show that she's ever had, every opportunity she's ever had, I've been afforded the same opportunity, right? Meaning she put me on. She supported me. I support her. It has been that way since I knew her in 2017, I think is when I actually met her. We became really good friends in 2018. And I don't know why the actual change occurred. And I haven't talked to her about it in all honesty, which at some point, I think I need to sit down and we can have a conversation because I don't understand what the change is. I have been like this the whole time. I've been like this. I have not changed on my positions. I have become more enlightened about Israel because I went to Israel.
But see, that's the problem. He literally is making it about Israel. There are a ton of other problems with Candace Owens. And the fact that he just said that he hasn't talked to her, but he said in other instances that he has, I don't even know what's going on anymore. I'm sorry. I have no idea. Because you're doing all of this, sir, that $300,000 check that you gave to Erica Kirk and her family at Amerifest, while your friend that you rock with and all this stuff is attacking Erica Kirk. I don't know how you make that a smart move. I don't know how that works. And the fact that you're now saying that you haven't talked to her is just, that's crazy work, man. That is absolutely crazy work.
But I have not changed on any position about Israel. I never had a negative opinion about it. Then I changed to a positive. I was like this. Oh, I get more information and I'm like this. It never changes. We work with Turning Point USA, and Turning Point USA is a Zionist organization. I don't know if anybody has been sleeping on the rock, but Charlie Kirk was the biggest Zionist. Charlie Kirk was the one that opened my eyes to our relationship with Israel because I never thought about it. I never left the country. You know what I'm saying? So I thought Israel was a third world country before I ever went there. Honest to God truth. That tell you how like unaware I am with the rest of the world. So anyway, then you move on to the next step, and Dennis Prager is one of the greatest men to ever live in my opinion. He's a great man. I celebrated Shabbat with Dennis. He invited me with his family. It was one of the greatest experiences I ever did. I don't understand how Christians are not celebrating Shabbat. I don't understand. And I understand why Charlie made it a point in his life to do it. It's something that Christians are completely missing out on. I think it's one of the greatest things. When we did Shabbat with Dennis, I almost felt the presence of God and why God has told us to do it. The family, the breaking bread. I saw the father of the house pray over his sons. And I didn't understand it because it was a Hebrew, but it sounded good, right? And just the peace of getting away from everything and acknowledging God and his creation, it was the greatest thing that I've ever experienced. And I told my wife this, and she was there with me. I said, we should do this we should do this. Anyway, I'll get back to it. So Dennis Prager, one of the greatest men.
Do you observe Shabbat now?
I don't consistently, but I it's something that that I think I should be doing, right? I don't think it's okay that I don't, to be quite honest.
Got it.
I honestly believe that as a Christian, I'm making a grave mistake by not observing Shabbat to some degree, even if it's on Saturday or Sunday. It should be an observation of giving God his day and remembering it forever, because Jesus did it. Jesus never abandoned Shabbat. He never abandoned it, and I think Christians shouldn't abandon it. And I think that's a big flaw in Christianity.
Interesting.
Which Charlie Kirk agrees with me, right?
That was his last book. Yeah. Yeah. Great name, by the way. Stop in the name of God. Such a good name. But go back. What were you saying about Dennis Prager? Sorry to cut you off about that.
Great. I'm sorry. Dennis Prager's great. PragerU has been incredibly great. Candace worked for PragerU. I went on her show with PragerU. I thought they were great. Great relationships, everything. Then she worked with Daily Wire. I love the Daily Wire. I did. They were very good to Candace. I used to be jealous, right? I go to her set and they got 45 people working with Candace. She in a trailer getting makeup. Miss Owens. I mean, they treated her like she was a god, and they were very good to her from my perspective. Obviously they had to part their ways, and she disagreed, and that's when I was pretty much upset with Ben Shapiro, because I didn't like the way it happened. But now I understand a little more of on a business side of it why that needed to happen. But
so, okay, yeah, y'all. I'm sorry. Brandon Tatum is double-minded. I'm sorry. He's just double-minded. There's no other way around it. I hate that for him because he has such a big platform. But what he says, man, he is a fence rider. I think people said he's double-minded. He has his foot in both camps. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't understand where his logic is coming from. And yeah, I don't even get it. And I'm not saying that you can't be friends with somebody. That's not what I'm saying. So don't hear what I didn't say. It's just what he's saying just doesn't comport with what we see as reality. And well, help me understand this, because what you're saying, if you love Daily Wire, you think they're so great, and if she left from there with all of that vitriol toward Daily Wire, what happened? Where's the disconnect? Same thing with Dennis Prager. She had some terrible things to say about Dennis Prager. And you said that you've been on all of her sets. So you were there when she was at Turning Point. You were there at PragerU. You're there at the Daily Wire. Why has she not had you on her set now? She runs her own show. Why has she not had you on there? That should be a question. The only person that's taking shots is you, Brandon. Candace isn't taking these shots. Candace isn't saying, Brandon Tatum is my brother. I love him. I'll never betray him, blah, blah, blah. You're the only one doing it, sir. She's not doing that for you. She dogging your church out. She calling your church a false church. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out where does the mutuality of this relationship, because it seems like you're giving everything, she's giving nothing. Maybe I'm going crazy. I don't know. Let's get done.
So all of that, right? Working with a Zionist organization, working with PragerU, and then working with probably the biggest known Jew in America, probably one of the top, working with them, and then to all of a sudden, all of that being antithetical to what she believed, which is I would love to sit down and talk to her about it because I'm confused about it. I don't see how it happens that way. I don't know if the conversion of
What's stopping you from doing that? I don't know. This is weird to me. I don't know. Maybe I don't understand friends. Because my friends, I could call them right now and say, hey, let's get together. And especially if they're here in town, let's just meet downtown for breakfast tomorrow. Let's meet over here for coffee. Like, I don't understand this relationship that it sounds like you can't just pick up the phone and call her. If you're going to take all these arrows and say that she's your sister and blah, 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 we ride or die, then you can't pick the phone up. Like, explain. I don't understand how that works. Like, if y'all are rocking like that, then you need to be able to pick the phone up. And if you are not rocking like that, then maybe you should stop calling her your sister. Everybody I call my brother, I can pick up the phone and call them. And if I don't call them and they don't call me back, then that's what it is. This is a weird interview. I'm sorry, y'all.
Catholicism, the sect of Catholicism has that belief about Israel. I'm just not really sure.
Actually, funny. It's funny you say it, because one thing I actually want to start saying more on the record is that there's been all these theories about her husband, George, who I actually know a lot more than Candace. And there's these theories that because he's a Catholic and, you know, he's the one that maybe he had certain strands of Catholicism that led him down this route. I would like to have it known on the record that I haven't spoken so much to George recently, but when the accusations first started, and they were a bit unfair actually about Candace and anti-Semitism before they actually got really bad, he was heartbroken by that. And he expressed to me a deep, burning love for Israel, for Zionism, for the Jewish people. And like, that's the only side of George that I saw. And it also wouldn't make sense to me that George was the one that, you know, pushed Candace down this dark path. So I just kind of feel like it's important to say that.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like, I can only go off.
You know, because I have found evidence that Candace was not a Christian when she worked at Turning Point. And I think that might have been part of the reason, one of the reasons why Charlie Kirk kept her at like arm's length. Candace Owens wasn't a believer when she, matter of fact, during the Joe Rogan interview, whenever that Joe Rogan interview was, she was still talking about working at Turning Point. And she tells Joe Rogan in very clear, very plain language that she is not a Christian. So, but there's the timeline, you know, Candace likes to talk about. The timeline is looking real weird because if she wasn't a believer, when did she actually become a Christian to become a Catholic? I'm just wondering, because I don't think any of that, I don't think any of it happened, truth be told. My little 2 cents, I don't think any of it happened. So like, why is she a Catholic? If her husband isn't the catalyst for her becoming a Catholic, why is she a Catholic then? How did she become a Catholic? Because the story that they told is that he was the one that converted her. But now let this guy tell the story. George was heartbroken. See, this doesn't make sense. This just doesn't make sense. Let's get done.
My experience, I've never heard George say anything to that degree that that's anti-Israel anything. I've never heard George say that. I don't think his family believed that, because I saw that his father had to come out and make a statement about Candace or something that Candace has said in the past. So it doesn't seem like he was raised that way, and it doesn't seem like I've never heard him talk like that. I haven't. No. And I don't know him as well as I know Candace, but I've been around him a lot, and when I'm around him, it's never, these subjects never even come up. And
yeah, well, I'm telling you, it came up with me, you know, when we were talking about it, and it was entirely and overwhelmingly positive, his views of Jews and Zionism.
It could be very possible that maybe he didn't agree. You know what I'm saying? That could be possible as well. So I don't know. You know, me and my wife didn't agree at first on Israel. Like, and then after a while, she came around the block and realized that what I was saying was true. And it was because she was listening to Candace Owens more, and she was leaning more towards Candace. And they would text all the time. You know, they text back and forth, and I'm like, I don't know why my wife believe what Candace is saying, and because I disagree with it. And then eventually my wife saw the truth in the matter, especially when I interviewed Benjamin Netanyahu, and I got so much crazy, outlandish backlash, and it was all lies and deception, and people were coming out against me for no real reason. And so she saw it like, oh, whoa, this is what Brandon has been talking about. So I think there could very well be a situation where George may not actually agree. But I really am interested to see. I need to talk to her. You know, I know her well enough. I can pick up the phone and just talk to her. I'm a little intimidated to talk to her because I don't want her to get into a big old argument and it go off the rails. But I do wonder, you know,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. This is super frustrating because if she's so important to you, like again, the only person that is saying that Candace Owens and he are super close and all that blah, blah, blah is him. He's the only one saying it. And to say that you're intimidated because you think it's going to turn into a bad situation, to me, that's proof positive that that's a problem. I've told y'all before. I've called my brothers and told them that, hey, you know, your wife called me and said this about it. What's going on? One time, a brother of mine, he was having some problems with his marriage and left the house. His wife called me and my wife and said, this is what's happening with your brother. And we went and I found him, I called him, I got in touch with him. We had a very spirited conversation and he took his backside home. And I never worried that he was going to hate me. I never worried that it was never going to be good. He's still my brother to this day. He texts me today. And that was better than probably 14 years ago, probably even longer. But again, like the first thing on my mind was not, he's gonna hate me. What? Bro, get your backside to your house, my guy. That was never my first thought. Wasn't even my fifth thought. Like my sister's at home crying because your rockhead isn't over there. Why are you not at home? Let's make it right. So I don't understand this Brandon Tatum, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna finish this up. I'm gonna do something different to end the night because Brandon Tatum, dude, you're just saying stuff that doesn't make sense, and you're saying that Candace is so important to you, but you won't correct her about something that you feel in your heart is completely wrong. Your wife, he literally said he doesn't know why his wife was following after Candace's teaching. So that means that you had a problem with it. Like you don't make any sense, Brandon. I'm sorry. I know some people don't like that, but man, that is some dumb stuff, my guy. If you disagree, if you don't want your wife holding to Candace's teaching, then I think it's fair to say that needs to be corrected. I mean, if Candace was teaching your wife to go out and step out on her husband, I bet you would say something. If Candace was teaching your wife to violate tax law, I bet you would say something then. Like that. I'm sorry. There is no way in the world he's going to hold some position of being morally superior because he respects Israel, but he won't call out Candace. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's not going to work. Get done with this.
I don't understand the hatred and the conspiracies about Israel. I will never understand it. Like to think that Israel is like the capital of pedophilia or something is crazy to me because the Catholic Church have more pedophilic claims and historically have been really demonized for the molestation of boys and stuff like that in the Catholic Church. That's far beyond any other organized group that I can think of that has been accused of something like that. So I don't know if Israel is that much of a pedophilic country in comparison to the Catholic Church. So you would think that if it is, then the Catholic Church should have fair criticism as well.
Often the rule of anti-Semitism, as Vasily Grossman said, is that they are what they accuse the Jews of. Show me what you accuse the Jews of and I'll show you what you're guilty of. That often seems to be a rule that I find to be true. And just lastly, in our bonus section, I wanted to talk to you a bit more about Charlie Kirk and his Zionism, because one of the positions that's leveled at the pro-Israel conservatives is that Charlie Kirk's views were shifting. Now, the way I look at it is I don't know what was in his heart. I saw until his dying day he was boldly defending Jews and Israel on campuses. We did see a bit of private text messaging where he was upset that people wouldn't, a Jewish donor withdrew because he kept hosting Tucker Carlson, and he felt, I don't want to be supporting this, and that really upset Charlie. But I wonder if you have any insight into this, because my sense is more that Charlie just saw himself as someone holding a coalition that was becoming increasingly fragile, trying to hold that together. What's your sense of where Charlie Kirk was at towards the end of his life? In the next bonus section, Brandon opens up about what Charlie Kirk really felt about Israel and Zionism in his final days. There are claims that Charlie was beginning to distance himself because of some of the statements he made on podcasts and a text message Charlie sent the day before he died, suggesting he might step away from the pro-Israel cause. Brandon reveals what was actually going on behind the scenes and what people are getting so wrong. It's truly a...
All right, I'm going to end that right there. Brandon Tatum is not a good, that was not a good interview. Oh, gosh. But I'll be honest with you. I don't find Brandon Tatum to be very thoughtful at all. I don't feel like he comes across to me as one who has memorized some facts, or he feels has memorized some facts and regurgitates them and puts them out in all different kind of combinations and the such of that nature. But really, I don't believe he's thought these things out. I'll just be honest with you. I don't think he thought those out. I'm here to pick a fight. I know. Yeah, I don't, some reason or another, there's somebody who, somebody said that Calvinists are anti-Semitic. I don't even know what that meant. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a Calvinist. I'm not anti-Semitic. So I don't know what you're talking about. So if you feel free to correct me if you think that I'm wrong. All right. Thank you so much, Dom. Thank you again, 303, with gifting 5 memberships again. Thank you all the time, blessing this, and I really do appreciate you. And then, of course, Ashley with the 5. You know what? No question, no comment, just pure love of the game. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for that. All right. I'm going to do something a little bit different because Brandon got me upset here. What we got here? My spirit to yours with the 20 says this. I now have a question. The spiritual discernment of TPUSA. If they continue relationships and take money from any content creators that do not defend Erica or that do not condemn Candace, including Tucker and Megan. Ooh-wee. Oh, I've been saying this. I've said TPUSA is in hot water. I've said this because I think they did not properly. Thank you so much for the 20. Thank you. And for this great question. I don't believe that TPUSA. Well, first of all, let me start again. Charlie Kirk was the glue that kept a lot of these little weird factions at bay or all under the tent, right? So imagine if you go to your kid's kindergarten classroom or pre-K classroom, and there's a lot of little pre-Kers in there. There's 15, 16 little ones. You know, Miss Bumblebee might be able to keep them all rallied together, right? She might keep them all in organized because she got a good system in play. But if Miss Bumblebee takes off for a day or she's sick for a week and Mr. Caterpillar comes up in there, it's going to be helter-skelter. It's going to be crazy town. And in my opinion, Charlie Kirk was Miss Bumblebee. He was able to keep everybody in order and in line. He's no longer here, and they're just all over the place. And I think he should. But some of the people that he was keeping in line, Charlie Kirk should have been dealt with. And I think one of them is Tucker. I don't think Tucker's benefit to the quote unquote cause superseded the damage that he's causing. That's what I think. Now, sure, he can still have a role. He can speak every now and then. Every Blue Tuesday, he can speak. But he doesn't need to speak as often as he did. And I mean, Tucker Carlson was like speaking right after Charlie Kirk's assassination. He spoke at the memorial. He spoke at the next college event where he told the child, the kid, he's being I think he cursed at the kid. And there's another one. I mean, right afterwards. So to your point, I think Turning Point needs to reevaluate, and they might need to cull the herd some. I think it's okay to say, hey, we're going to cut ties with certain people for the time being, and maybe we'll just stay in communication with them, but we're not going to have them on stage because they don't rock with where we land as TPUSA, in my opinion. But shout out. Thank you so much for that. Okay, let me see. All right, let me see what I'm missing. All right, I'm reading through here. Somehow or another, we've turned this into I think Brandon has put himself in between the rock and the hard place by not saying the hard things up front. That's it. I think Brandon Tatum, because he refused to do what needed to be done and call a spade, I think he created the problem that he's now in this pickle. Because again, I've heard him say that he's talked to Candace, but this interview right here, he said he hadn't talked to her yet. That's crazy work. That needs to be dealt with. Like, yo, how are you saying that you met with her, you talked with her on the phone or whatnot, and you haven't had a conversation with her now? Like that's yeah. Maybe he needs to just sit this one out, in my opinion. All right, y'all, I'm gonna do something different tonight. We're gonna end this with I've been mentioning that over at my church, we have been going through the book of James, and I would like to end tonight. If you want to, you can hang out. I'm gonna play my pastor's sermon. It was a very encouraging sermon. I think you might see why it was very beneficial, and hopefully you'll get something from it. You'll appreciate it. So I'm gonna pull this in, and let's just check it out. I won't add a lot of commentary because it's my pastor. I don't need to add any commentary. He's gonna say he's gonna be on point. So let me pull this in, and there's a playlist on my channel called the Book of James, and that is where all of these are housed. If you ever want to check them out, if the mods want to go ahead and drop that in there, I'm gonna give this to you. I think that this will be edifying to you all. So with no further ado, take it away, Joel. This is a Ginger Avenger. That's my pastor. Here we go.
Amen. If you'll turn in your Bibles to James chapter 1, this day we'll conclude chapter 1 by looking at verses 26 and verse 27. Would you give your attention to the life-giving?
Uh-oh, what happened? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, it's life-giving, but it's pause. Uh-oh. Danger. Here, let me restart that. Oh, let me restart it. Some reason others. Okay, let me restart that. All right.
Would you give your attention to the life-giving word of God found in James chapter 1, verses 26 and 27. If anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their afflictions, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. You may be seated. Still remember as a young child receiving my first chocolate Easter bunny, or at least the first one that I remember. And this Easter bunny was probably 8 to 10 inches tall, which was good size as a small child. That is about the quarter of your size and height. So I couldn't quite believe that my parents, I believe it was my parents that gave it to me, that they would give me something this big and that it would be candy and that it would be chocolate and it was all mine. And yet I still remember, and you might know where I'm going with this because perhaps the same thing happened to you, the utter disappointment of biting into this Sid chocolate bunny only to find out that it was hollow. A chocolate shell, probably less chocolate than a Hershey's chocolate bar. Talk about deception. Lies. Being cheated. Where was the rest of my chocolate? To this day, every time I see a chocolate bunny, it still reminds me of that time, of that traumatic event of my childhood. Well, when I read our passage this morning, it reminds me of what James is saying. A religion that is worthless, that is vain, that is hollow like a chocolate Easter bunny. It seems to be authentic on the outside and even good, but inwardly there is no substance. There is not a solid faith or a solid belief that goes to the core. It's just an external shell. Well, James goes on to say that there is a religion that is pure, that is genuine, that is solid, that is pure and undefiled. And so as James ends chapter 1, this is a bit of a check for us of what is true religion and what is false religion, that which is solid and that which is hollow. And he gives the test, the substance of our faith, the substance of our religion, as he calls it, and how it is to be demonstrated. And so we'll see that this morning in 2 points: authentic religion, and then the test for authenticity. First, authentic religion. James, as you know, as we've been going throughout this letter, this epistle, is concerned with genuine Christianity. 24-karat Christianity, you could put it. Pure gold, pure faith. And that is important so as not to be fake, so as not to be a fraud. We want to be representatives, and we want to be good representatives of that which we profess. In many ways, James is testing that over and over again, both what it means as well as what threatens genuine faith and belief. If you were with us last week with Pastor Myers, the passage that we looked at, James talked about being doers of the word and not just hearers only. Because he who hears but does not do, well, that is a contradiction, that there is a shortcoming there. That is a fundamental problem, just like one who would look in the mirror and then forget what he sees. That there is not a reflection outwardly of what is to be there inwardly. And if that is true, James is saying is that perhaps we are not what we actually are, if there's not consistency there. Because if we are alive in Christ, if God has done a work in us, there ought to be an evidence of that work. In other words, what is worked in will be worked out. And James emphasizes that throughout his gospel. In fact, that is why sometimes James is criticized by individuals. That James is pressing externals, that he's always pressing upon the imperatives of the Gospels and not the indicatives of the life and death and resurrection of Christ. It's, in fact, why Martin Luther, the Protestant reformer, called this letter an epistle of straw. Not that I don't think Luther thought that it was inspired, but because of Luther's opinion, that is, that there was an overemphasis of the duty of the gospel instead of what is done in the gospel. And whereas that may be an emphasis, we wouldn't go as far as to agree with Luther, because there is not an exclusion of the gospel by any means in the epistle of James. But rather, we are to reflect the God has redeemed us. And if you remember, if you go back to verse 18, he talks about this. When he says, of his own will, that is, of the will of God, God brought us forth by the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Do you see how this is a work of God? This is a work of the gospel. And this really relates to what James will say in our passage this morning. Because it is of his will, because he has brought us forth, that means that he has had care and compassion upon us, those that were needy, those that were undeserving of such care and compassion. And yet he came in such a way to give us that which we stood in need of eternal life, because we were dead in our sins and our transgressions. Well, in the light of God doing that work of redemption, having compassion and care upon us, then how are we to be towards others? Ought we not to also have compassion and care in the same way that God has done so for us? And he goes on to say he's brought us forth by the word of truth. In other words, the words matter. God has given us a pure word, an undefiled word, with no lies or deceptions or falsehoods, a word of truth. Therefore, what should our words also reflect? They are true. that truthful words matter. If God's word matters, so should ours. Likewise, he goes on to say that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures, that we are new creatures in Christ, new beings with new purpose. And that first fruits, which is a reference to the Old Testament, the offerings that were to be given, that you were to give of the first fruits of your crops to God. That is what he has done in us. We are those types of first fruits. Therefore, our lives should represent that we should live for a godly purpose, that we're not to live like the world or live like everyone else, but we're to live for a different purpose, for a godly purpose. And so do you see how all of these imperatives, all of these quote unquote externals come from what God has done in us? And we have not done them ourselves. We as Christians don't make ourselves better people. If that's what you think Christianity is about, that you come to learn good morals and good behaviors, then you've missed the core of Christianity. All of the deeds, all of the externalisms, as it were, have the fingerprints of God upon them. They come forth from what God has put in us, and not the other way around. You remember the Apostle Paul, when we were in the Epistle of Thessalonians, talks about this, that the Thessalonians received the word of God and accepted it just as it is, not the word of men, but what it really is, the word of God. And then Paul goes on to say, which is at work in you, believers. That the word is at work in us. The word by the Spirit is made alive, and it does a work in us, and therefore it's manifested on the outside through our behaviors and our actions, and it ought to. You've perhaps heard the phrase like father like son, or like mother like daughter. And oftentimes that's used in a negative connotation where there's misdeeds or regrettable attributes that are passed down from one generation to the next. But here there is a positive aspect, that we ought to be like the God that has redeemed us, that there should be a reflection of our Father in us, that who we are is rooted in the gospel and in God himself. And that's why James here uses this word religion and religious. You see that in verse 26 and 27. That word has fallen on hard times, as you know. It's almost nowadays has a negative connotation. That it's almost as if there is a negative aura that goes around the word being religious. And so as a result, most people don't call themselves religious anymore, do they? The vogue word is spiritual. I'm a spiritual person. Again, because religion seems to only connote externalism and public expression, whereas, spiritual, that's private and it's internal. Well, as we've said and will continue to say, it needs to be both, isn't it? Yes, it needs to be internal, but it also needs to be external. There needs to be a consistency of both. And so as one commentator puts it, religion is a comprehensive word for the specific ways in which a heart relationship to God is expressed in our lives. Or as we've been saying, how we reflect our Father. And therefore, as James talks about religion here, we shouldn't see that as a bad word, but we should ask ourselves, how does our heart relationship with God, to use that expression, that definition of that commentary, how is our heart relationship with God expressed in the world? How is it expressed in our lives? What ought it look like? That is what James is saying. In fact, he says at the very beginning, if anyone thinks he is religious, if you're here, I would say most of you would call yourself religious, or you should. And again, that's not a bad thing, but the question that we need to ask this morning is, how do we know if it's authentic? How do we know if it's true? How do we know if it's genuine? Or is it just externalism? Is it hollow like that Easter chocolate bunny? Well, we see that James gives the test for authenticity here. How we know it's authentic. My children and I have been watching a show where people bid and buy collectible items. And it's crazy what people will spend on stuff because it was in a movie or worn by an athlete or an actor or actress, or it has some kind of significance, sometimes in the multiple millions of dollars, because it's supposedly special stuff. at least in the eyes of the buyer and for sure in the eyes of the seller. Oftentimes I look at this stuff and I think it's junk in my eyes. $20,000 for a Pez dispenser? I don't think so. But somebody is willing to spend it. I guess a fool and his money are quickly departed, as the scripture says. But all of this stuff has to be authenticated, meaning that it has to be verified to be what it actually is. You could imagine investing in these things only to find out it's a fake. It's worthless. And therefore, it needs to be tested. And that's in some ways what James is doing here. How can we know? What are those tests? Well, James in our passage here gives 3 tests. Not comprehensive tests by any means, but 3 ways to know. And in fact, James will go on a little bit more in depth on all 3 of these throughout the letter. But I think he touches on them as an indicator of real, genuine faith, or as he calls it, pure religion. And do you see what the first is? It's there in verse 26. It's a bridled tongue. It says, if anyone thinks he's religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. The tongue is quite literally the telltale sign of what's going on in the inside of the heart. What we say, that which we speak, is what is on our hearts and what is on our mind. And Jesus, as you know, says, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. In other words, what is on the inside comes out. From the root comes the fruit, as it often is said. In this case, from the heart comes our words. And James, again, we'll talk about this in James chapter 3, and he talks about how fresh water cannot come from a salty pond. In other words, from a salty heart comes salty words. So if we want to know what is going on in the heart, we just need to listen to the words that come forth from the mouth. We do this with our children, or hopefully we do. We find out what's on their heart and what's their mind, what's their fears, what's their worries, what are the things that they're excited about, what are the things that they love and desire. How do we know all of those things? Well, we know them from their words, and we have to sometimes draw them out, especially if you have teenagers. We have to speak and listen. And the mouth will tell us what it loves, what it fears, what it values, what it treasures, what it worships. Our mouth gives us the worldview, the lens by which we see all things, the lens by which we are living our lives. And therefore, the tongue is a great test of the authenticity of our faith. And it typically demonstrates if that faith is true or if it's false. And if it's false, it's typically because it comes, as James says, from an unbridled tongue. James uses this analogy, doesn't he? He really is a master of analogies. He uses this analogy of a bit and a bridle. If you know, a bit goes into a horse's mouth and the bridle around the mouth. And it does what? Well, it directs the horse in the way that it is to go. Without a bit, without a bridle, it's a directionless horse, which is not a very useful horse at all. It reminds me of what James says earlier in chapter 1. It's like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed. It's going this way, and then it's going that way. Well, the same thing with an unbridled horse or an unbridled tongue. It is wild. There's no path. There's no direction to it. A wild tongue is like a wild horse. A wild horse will do harm and will do damage, won't it? It needs to be broken in order to be useful. And in the same way, an unbridled tongue is harmful and will do damage. You were told a lie as a child. I don't know if it's still said, but it used to be said, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That is a lie, isn't it? Words do hurt. In fact, they pierce the heart and the soul much more than physical injuries can. They cut deep, really deep. All of us can perhaps remember things that were said to us, and even said to us years ago from parents or siblings or friends or even a spouse. It was deeply painful, and perhaps has even taken years to process and heal from. And perhaps even worse, we can all think of words that we have said that have caused pain and caused deep regrets. Things we've had to ask for forgiveness for. from God and from others. If you are married, probably the number one thing that you have to apologize for the most is your words. But words are systematic, or are symptomatic, I should say. They come ultimately from a prideful and selfish and rude heart, right? The words ultimately aren't the problem. They're just a manifestation. They're an external expression of what's going on in the inside. And therefore, we not only need to repent of the words that we say, but why we say them and why they're sinful. And that's why James is saying here, if he thinks he's religion, but does not do these things, he's deceived. He lacks self-control. He lacks discipline. In fact, James is using this as a test because if you don't have a bridled tongue, you lack self-control in the very basic aspects of life. Because self-control, as you know, is a fruit of the Holy Spirit. An undisciplined, unbridled tongue is ultimately connected to an undisciplined and unbridled heart that is going its own way, that is not broken by the Spirit, by the things of the Lord, that is not learning to submit to God, that is not under the direction ultimately of the Holy Spirit. That's why, as we heard last week, we are to be quick to what? Listen, and slow to speak. And what James is not saying here is that if you ever sin with your tongue, it means you're not a Christian. If that was the standard, all of us would miss the mark, wouldn't we? Because grumbling and complaining and lying and slandering and gossip and boasting and flattery, and we could go on, are all sins of the tongue. It demonstrates how prolific and sadly common sins of the tongue truly are, aren't there? That's why Proverbs says, in the multitude of words, sin is not lacking, but he who restrains his lips is wise. And so there ought to be a growth, there ought to be a maturity in these areas. We need to continually be putting that bridle upon our tongues and the things that we say, because of the amount of words that we speak and what that says about our heart and that says about our life. I heard an interesting statistic. It says on average, people speak about 15,000 words per day. Now, ladies, probably a few more. Men, a few less. But on average, 15,000 words per day. That's about 50 pages of a book that we are, in essence, writing. So every week, we're writing a 350-page book. And if all of our words were to be written down, and if others were to read those words, what would that say about us? Would you want others to read it? I could probably know a lot about you, and you could probably know a lot about me because of what is written in that book that comes from our words. That is why James says this is a part of the test, that bridled tongue. Well, second, he goes on to say that religion that is not worthless, but religion that is solid, that is genuine, that is, as he says here, pure and undefiled before God, is this: first, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction. The second test, next to a bridled tongue, is having compassionate care for others. Again, as James says, he goes from that which is worthless and vain and hollow to that which is pure and genuine and valuable, in the aspect of how do we think about others. He specifically names two here, orphans and widows, or as the Old Testament puts it, the fatherless and the widow. And these two groups in the Old Testament and in the New Testament are named, I think, primarily because of their vulnerability. That God has a special eye upon these two, because in scriptural time, if a woman lost her husband, she could not just go out and get a job, at least not one that would fully support her, and if she had children, to support them. You think of Naomi and Ruth, and the story of how Ruth has to go out to the field just to make the provisions in order for them to eat, these two widows. Likewise, in the death of a parent, if the family did not take the children in, there was no orphanage or foster care system. And so you see how these groups, because of their situation, because of their circumstances, would become destitute and impoverished. Now, these days, there might be more provisions for these two groups, but there is a spiritual and emotional component that no government entity can provide, right? And so we can't just write these off and say, well, that's not important to us, or that's not important to the church, or God is not concerned with these groups anymore. No, he says that he has a special care and concern for them, special heart, and his people, his church, are to be a reflection of that. If you remember, the whole office of the diaconate was created because of the specific need of widows. Now, the office of the diaconate is more than just widows, but it demonstrates that it's to be a part of the church, a part of the care and compassion that we are to have as the corporate people of God. But these two groups, I think, are narrowed out as specific examples of pure and undefiled religion, as an echoing of what James' older brother, the Lord Jesus Christ, said before, when he says, that which you have done to the least of these, you've done to me. And that is what this is saying, that the least of these. Again, just as the Lord Jesus Christ looked down upon us in compassion and mercy and care, not in condemnation or judgment, but as he saved us from the miry pit, as it were. So too, we are to have compassion and care for the least of these, for those that need our help. Again, if you help those that can help you, even the world does that. Rank unbelievers do that. But we're to help those that are unable to help us, because it's a demonstration, again, it's a test of our true care and compassion. Are we just doing it out of selfish self-gain? If I help this person, well, then they'll help me later. Or is it because we actually have that genuine love and care and compassion because God has put that in us, just as he has given it to us? And this ought to be a bit convicting for all of us, isn't it? Because if we're honest, we are consumed by our schedules, by our lives. So easy to become me-centered. And yet the corrective to that is service, isn't it? It's a wonderful worldview corrector. That's the right ordering of things is God, others, and me, not the other way around. But too often we can put it the other way around and put us on top in front of others and even in front of God. And so service helps us to reorient our worldview in the right manner, and to think not what can I get, but what can I give. If you remember the famous words of JFK when he said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country. That's something we should think more of as Christians in the church, about what we can do for our church rather than what can our church do for us. Not to be consumers, ultimately. We're to be givers. And so let me ask you this morning very poignantly, who are the least of these in your life that you have care and compassion for? Directly serving or being a part of a ministry of those that help the poor or the homeless or the orphan, those that are in the foster care system, or the widow or the prisoner or the prostitute or the immigrant or the unborn. And no, we can't be involved in all of those things. That's not what this is saying. But we ought to have care and compassion and be able to serve in a few of these things. Again, we as a church have a few ministries along those lines of helping the poor children in Mableton Elementary, helping with Must Ministry, with One Need, with the Women's Care Clinic, with the Reformation Hope Haitian Orphans, the Meal Train, our widow ministry, Oasis. These are wonderful things that we are trying to do to have pure and undefiled religion, and that is not just Sunday coming up and worshiping. Yes, we must do that. That must be the pinnacle. That must be the core. But from there, we go out into the world with the care and compassion of Christ. And again, these are wonderful things to get involved with, but at the same time, don't wait for your church to do other things or do more. But the church should do this or the church should do that. No, as James is saying here, this is upon us. This is what it means to be religious, to have an outward expression of faith and belief. Again, it is that test of genuine faith and belief. Well, third, and quickly then, we see here, he goes on to say at the very end, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. This is a little bit more generic than the other two, but it means not to be, as one commentator says, corrupted by the world's contaminating influence. In other words, we're not to be worldly. We're not to live like the rest of the world and how the world does. And you might say, well, I don't like that. I don't want to be different. I don't want to be distinct. I don't want to just stand out. Well, then perhaps you really don't want to be a Christian. Because as a Christian, we are to be different. We ought to be stand down because we have a different standard. We have a different purpose. We have a different outlook. And again, people get nervous when we start talking like this because they might say, isn't this fundamentalism? Isn't this, back in the day where we used to burn books and CDs when we used to have CDs? I don't know what people burn these days, but nevertheless, is that what we're saying? Because we as Christians, we love to promote our liberties, that I'm free. Well, as Paul says, yes, we are. But he also says all things are lawful, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful, but not all things build up. In fact, lots tears down. And that's why we shouldn't get into, is it this or that of the externalisms, but we ought to be mindful of what we do and why we do it, what we listen to it and why we listen to it, what we watch and why we watch it, what we go to and participate in and why we go to it and participate in it. And we should always be asking the question, is this helping me to glorify God and enjoy him? And if not, then we ought to think twice and beware of it. Because that's what James is saying here, is that we are to keep ourselves unstained from the world, that ungodly worldly influence does creep in and captures our heart and our mind so easily. Pastor Kevin DeYoung, I've mentioned this before, but I think it's the best definition of worldliness when he says worldliness is whatever makes sin look normal and righteousness look strange. Or perhaps to rephrase it slightly, to make the things of the world look normal and the things of God look strange. May that not be true of us. And we have the wisdom, as James talks about it throughout this book, to be unstained, uncontaminated by the world and the way the world is. Yes, we are to be in the world, but we're not to be of the world. We're to be engaged with the world, but we're not to be engrossed with the world. That's the distinction. We're to live distinctly godly lives in all aspects, words, deeds, actions, lifestyles, demonstrating that we belong to the Lord. And I'm not my own, but belong body and soul to my faithful Savior, Jesus Christ. Again, 3 tests. Why are these so important? Because all of us are aware of individuals that seemed one way and then appeared another. Some perhaps very personal to us, especially when it came to their faith. They seemed to be true. They seemed to be demonstrating true godliness, and then the true manner of their lives come out, and we know how devastating that is. And we don't want to be such people. We don't want to inflict such harm upon ourselves and upon others, or to bring disrepute to the Lord Jesus Christ that has saved us and redeemed us. That's why Matthew Henry says of this passage, worthless religion is focused only on what is showy, but pure and undefiled religion is focused on what is hidden, unseen, acts of charity and godliness. And so as we finish and as we reflect on it, on our life, what do we see? Is there authentic faith? Is there genuine belief that is reflected from the inside out, that's not hollow? In the light of what Christ has done for us and is doing in us, is there a genuineness, a genuine love for God and a genuine love for others? Does it come forth from our words, that our words bring forth life and build up rather than tear down? Do we have compassion and care for others before ourselves? Is there a godly life that is distinct and set apart? My friends, that is the good life that is given to us in Christ. That we'd be like our Father. And we reflect him, reflect the Lord Jesus Christ, in whose image we are being made into us. That there would be a visible grace that demonstrates a pure and undefiled religion. Join me in prayer. Our gracious God and Heavenly Father, Lord, there's many convicting words in the book of James, and this is one of them. Because when we test ourselves, we see much that is lacking. We are so familiar with words that demonstrate our selfishness and our pride, rather than reflecting the love that you have for us and the love that we are to have for others. That we get caught up with the things of the world and get excited about such trivial matters, and the things of God become lackluster to us. Lord, forgive us. We desire to be true and solid. We believe, but Lord, help our unbelief. And would your work of your word and spirit do its work in us this day, rooting out that which is worthless and vain, and having us be set upon that which is pure and undefiled, which is the Lord Jesus Christ himself. Would he be formed in us and through us by your Spirit, that we would be a reflection of you. We would be a reflection of what your children ought to be. That this world would know that we are.
Hey, what happened? Oh, it stopped early. Man, I didn't realize that. It stopped early. My bad. Well, amen. Hey, thank y'all so much for rocking with us. I really do appreciate it. It's been a long night, but yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm going to let them know, like, hey, you cut this video off early, y'all. Don't y'all know that? Anyway, y'all, thank y'all so much for rocking with us. It's been a long night, but I appreciate you. Just give you a lay of the land. Chief Executive Second Born has driver's ed class until 5:30 every day, Monday through Wednesday. So if I do Candace review or anything like that, I'll probably do it like 7:00, something like that. So that'll be it. I'm probably going to just be doing like a cursory, just a quick little summary of it. I'm not going to do the whole show because I know it's going to be just dumb. So there's no reason to do that. If anything changes, however, I will make sure of that. I do have an interview planned on Thursday and one on Friday. As soon as I get my thumbnails, I'll let y'all know exactly what they are. So that should be good. I'm looking forward to having those good conversations. But everybody, I want to say thank you so much for rocking with us tonight. Thank you so much for tapping in with us. I appreciate the mods. Thank you to everybody who gifted memberships. Shout out to all the new members who received gifted memberships. Check out the membership tab under the community post. I really appreciate y'all. Welcome to the party. And everybody have a fantastic rest of the day. I'm looking forward to seeing you all this week. So until next time, everybody, grace and peace. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Witt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.